Chapter 27-28. City Building Celebration 1. In fact, he had just come out of seclusion not long ago. However, after he came out of his closed-door cultivation, he had heard the clan members mention Lung Ruoxia's name. What caught his attention the most was that Lung Ruoxia was actually Master Ye's disciple. After finding out about Lung Ruoxia's identity, he started to pay attention to her. This time, when he heard that the little girl wanted to build a city and the Qilin clan had received the invitation, he volunteered to come. Of course, the main reason he came was because he was curious about Lung Ruoxia. However, after knowing that he was going to participate in the celebration of Demon City's founding, the Qilin clansmen's expressions were all rather interesting and filled with disbelief. Looking at his clansmen's shocked expressions, the man suddenly felt that it was quite interesting to occasionally do something unexpected. In the entire firmament, the person who had done the most unexpected things was naturally the famous and popular Lung Ruoxia. As such, his interest in Lung Ruoxia was even stronger. Now that he had heard from the dragon whale that the little girl knew how to use formations and that there was delicious food here, the man felt that this trip had not been in vain. When Uncle Long heard the man's words, he was speechless. Why is this guy either staring at the array or interested in eating? However, they were all foodies. Foodies had always had something in common with each other, so when the two foodies got together, they naturally began to talk about food as if no one was around. The more the two talked, the more congenial they became. The crowd of people who were watching with their mouths agape had all become background boards and were completely ignored. When Lung Ruoxia felt that it was about time, she went from the room to the living room. She saw everyone sitting there like fools, while Uncle Long was having a great chat with an unknown man. It was obvious that the two of them were having a great time. Originally, Lung Ruoxia didn't want to disturb the two of them when she saw that they were chatting so happily. However, the auspicious time for the celebration was about to arrive, and Uncle Long still had to host the celebration. If they continued to chat like this, they would be wasting time. Lung Ruoxia had no choice but to interrupt them. "I'm sorry to disturb you, Uncle Long. It's almost time." Lung Ruoxia reminded him helplessly. "Ark. Look at my memory. I'm sorry everyone, I almost forgot the time." When Uncle Long saw that Lung Ruoxia had arrived, he hurriedly stood up and apologized to everyone present. However, as to how much sincerity he had in his apology, it depended on the person. Of course, everyone expressed that they didn't mind. At this moment, Uncle Long pulled Lung Ruoxia over and introduced her to her with a smile. "Shuai, this is Mr. Shuai Mo from the Qilin race." Then he turned to the man and said, "Sir Shuai Mo, this is my little Shuai. Hello, Mr. Shuai Mo." Lung Ruoxia could tell that this man had extraordinary abilities, so she spoke very politely. "Hello, little girl. I've heard of your name for a long time. Let's have a good sparring when we have time." Shuai Mo's eyes glowed with joy. This little girl was not an ordinary person. She was indeed worthy of being the disciple chosen by the master. In a few breaths, Shuai Mo had already sized up Lung Ruoxia and made a quick judgment. He had a good impression of her. However, Lung Ruoxia was confused by Shuai Mo's words. Why did this powerful senior of the Qilin clan want to spar with someone the moment they met? This was not a good habit. She was a little speechless. More importantly, this person's strength was clearly above hers. As such, Lung Ruoxia could not understand why this person would target her. Thanks at this moment, she naturally didn't know that Shuai Mo wanted to spar with her not in terms of martial arts but in terms of formation. However, no matter how helpless she felt, she still said politely, "If there's a chance, I'll definitely exchange pointers with Senior." Of course, these were just polite words. However, Shuai Mo was very serious and decided that he would take action as soon as they finished their business. Just like that, unknowingly, Lung Ruoxia had been targeted by a rather persistent Qilin. A moment later, the celebration began as scheduled. Lung Ruoxia and the rest headed to the ceremony venue first. It was located in a specially open public square in Demon City, and the decorations were so gorgeous that it was almost impossible to look at. Although many of the people present had seen big scenes, it was clear that the scale of Demon City's celebration was beyond their expectations. The venue was decorated with exotic flowers, each competing to bloom. The ground was covered with a red carpet, raising the entire celebration to a higher level. Of course, this was not the most important thing. The most eye-catching thing was the crystal fruit plates on the podium. Those fruits were obviously not ordinary. Each fruit was covered with a layer of faint fluorescent light, and rich spiritual energy was flowing around the fruit. He was really too rich. No. These fruits were not something that could be obtained with money. With shock, everyone took their seats. As the MC, Uncle Long started to give a long and eloquent speech once the time was up. Lung Ruoxia, who was sitting in the VIP area, listened to Uncle Long's emotional speech and couldn't help but sigh in her heart. She had known Uncle Long for so long, but she never knew that he could actually say so many things on the surface. Just as Lung Ruoxia's thoughts were running wild, she suddenly heard Uncle Long's voice. Next, let's welcome our city lord, Lung Ruoxia, to give a speech to everyone. In an instant, everyone's eyes turned to her. Lung Ruoxia was stunned. Was there a need for her to speak? On such an important day, it was only right for her to say a few words since she was crowned as the city lord. However, if she remembered correctly, there was no part of the celebration process where she, the city lord, would give a speech. Uncle Long had definitely added scenes without permission. When he saw Lung Ruoxia smiling evilly at Uncle Long, he felt extremely helpless. Uncle Long had learned his lesson. He had also launched a surprise attack. She was really not prepared for this. However, she was naturally not afraid of such a scene. With a faint smile, Lung Ruoxia stood up from the VIP seats and walked straight up to the high platform that had been set up in advance. After a moment of silence, she opened her mouth with a very polite tone. Thank you, everyone, for coming to our Demon City's founding ceremony today. From today onwards, I officially declare the establishment of Demon City. Pausing for a moment, she looked around and continued. I don't know if everyone is aware, but the reason why our Demon City has today's scale is all thanks to Rime Ice. So I have to thank her properly. If it wasn't for her sneak attack on us a few months ago, I'm afraid we wouldn't have thought of building the land of demons into a demon city. I hope that the 3 hierarch gods of the Lord God's Manor will convey my demon city's deep gratitude to Rime when you return. At the same time, I would like to thank the Lord God's Manor for sending people to witness the great moment of our demon city's construction. I hope that everyone will have a good time today. After saying that, she walked down the stage that was covered with a red carpet. Chapter 27-29. City Building Celebration, 2. Lung Ruoxia's words were very short, but she had specially mentioned Wuxia, and even said that she wanted to thank the other party. When the crowd heard this, they could not help but turn their eyes to the 3 reverent god-level experts from the Divine Master's estate, who were also seated in the VIP seats. Xian Yi and the others immediately felt uneasy. They could clearly feel that the gazes of the crowd contained a trace of gloating. Of course, there was also probing. This made the 3 of them extremely helpless. Although not many people in the divine world knew about the sneak attack by Wuxia a few months ago, and the news was not widely spread due to the control of the Godlord's estate, this did not mean that some of the top clans did not know the ins and outs of the matter. After all, some things did not need to be said. After the previous incident, the Divine Master's estate had maintained their silence. Lung Ruoxia and the others were still safe and sound. The top forces must have known what this meant. Therefore, at this moment, the 3 of them really regretted coming to this celebration. They were here to be watched. This fact made the 3 of them feel their faces burning. Of course, the 3 of them were reverent god-level cultivators after all. Many curious people did not dare to be too presumptuous and stare at them. However, from Lung Ruoxia's words, they could more or less make out some clues. Not only did the 2 sides not shake hands and make peace, but they seemed to have deepened their hatred instead. This time, a considerable number of forces also regretted coming here to join in the fun. If the Divine Master knew about this, would he find trouble with them? However, everyone's thoughts did not last long. Very soon, their attention was completely diverted. After Lung Ruoxia's speech, Uncle Long said a few more polite words, and the performance that they had arranged in advance officially began. Most of the participants were beastie, and they only performed the simplest skills such as cornice and soaring into the air. However, It was this simple action that completely stunned all the factions present, making them dumbfounded. No one had expected that Beastie would be so brilliant just by showing off his talent. Right, what was this called? Acrobatic? That's right, acrobatics. To most of the people in the firmament, this term was extremely new. One had to know that this was something that only existed in Lung Ruoxia's previous life. A considerable portion of the people who had come to participate in the ceremony today were the natives of the firmament. In Lung Ruoxia's heart, these natives had never seen such a novel thing before. Therefore, she had specially rehearsed a large acrobatic show according to the specialties of the magical beasts. Uncle Long and the others had never seen this acrobatic performance before, so they were all shocked when it was performed. Wonderful. It was really too exciting. No one was willing to blink their eyes, afraid that they would miss any wonderful action. As the performance began, exquisite food was served to the table in front of everyone, but at this time, no one was in the mood to eat. They were all staring at the wonderful, exciting, and nerve-wracking acrobatic show. After an unknown period of time, the heart-stirring acrobatic performance finally ended. Only then did everyone have the chance to let out a long sigh of relief, but they still had a stunned expression on their faces. After a while, the aroma of the food finally attracted their attention. Thanks only then did everyone start to taste the food. After a mouthful of delicious food, everyone was once again amazed. What is this? Why is it so delicious? Looking at the disbelieving expressions on everyone's faces, Lung Ruoxia couldn't help but think to herself, which corner did this group of grandmothers crawl out from? They really haven't seen the world. Of course, Lung Ruoxia's bad mood did not affect everyone's interest in tasting the delicious food. They ate very happily and watched the performance with great enjoyment. After watching the exciting acrobatic show, it was naturally time for the auction. No one had expected that there would be such an important event like an auction today. This was too unexpected. More importantly, they were not prepared at all. If they could not bid for something good, they would regret it to death. As it turned out, after the auction began, everyone was indeed regretting it. This was because every item displayed for auction was an item that could not be bought even with 1,000 gold. However, everyone was embarrassed and really couldn't afford it. Uncle Long could naturally see the embarrassment in most people's hearts. After a faint smile, he gave everyone a piece of good news. Don't worry, everyone. Today's auction is mainly to give everyone a surprise. Therefore, you can bid as much as you want for the items you've taken a fancy to. The bill can be settled later after you bid for the items. These words were definitely good news for everyone. When everyone heard this, they immediately became excited and rubbed their fists, ready to go all out. Uncle Long was very happy to see the atmosphere getting more and more heated. When the auction officially began, the items they auctioned, such as pills, equipment, and some medicinal herbs, were all sold at a high price. The results were naturally satisfactory. Many of the powers that had come to participate in Demon City's celebration had obtained unexpected gains. They wouldn't be able to forget the exciting programs that Demon City had specially arranged for them for a long time. The city building celebration started in the morning and continued into the late night. As such, after the celebration ended, the participating forces were still not satisfied, especially those who had not managed to get anything. They all pestered Uncle Long in unison, hoping that he would bring out more good things. However, Uncle Long was very insistent and told them in advance not to be anxious. In the future, they would organize regular auctions at the Yao Clan Tower, especially for supreme-grade pills and other rare items. They would definitely have a chance to bid for them. After hearing this, the crowd reluctantly let go of Uncle Long. After a night's rest, the major forces began to bid farewell the next day. Demon City also gradually became quiet. After yesterday, the City of Demons was finally officially established in the realm of gods. Uncle Long and the others had been busy for a long time. Although they were tired, they were quite satisfied to see the celebration yesterday so successful. However, after sending most of the people away, Uncle Long and the others all collapsed from exhaustion. When Lung Ruoxia walked into the living room, she saw Uncle Long and the rest lying limply on their chairs. When she got closer, she said helplessly, Uncle Long, if you're too tired, you can go back to your room and rest. No. There's a guest here. Uncle Long refused. There are still people who haven't left? Lung Ruoxue was a little surprised. Could it be people from the Weapon Masters Guild and the Alchemists Guild? Although there were many guests yesterday, she still remembered the two representatives from the headquarters. When they saw the first elder and the other irresponsible guys, they all cried. They cried not because they missed first elder and the others, but because these few big shots from the two headquarters didn't return home and were growing up here. Chapter 2730. City Building Celebration 3. However, no matter how the representatives of the two headquarters complained that they were currently without a leader, the Great Elder and the others were unmoved. Right at this moment, Shen Nua's voice rang in Lung Ruoxue's ears again. Shuer, didn't you say there was a centipede? Where was it? Quickly show me. I'm in need of it now. As soon as she finished speaking, Shen Nua ran into the living room in a hurry, then pulled Lung Ruoxue and ran out. Uncle Long watched the two of them leave, and swallowed the words he was about to say. Shen Nua pulled Lung Ruoxue all the way back to the courtyard that was specially used for their office. There were already a few pairs of eyes waiting for them. Shuer, where's the centipede? Luiyue and Jiang Ning asked at the same time when they saw Lung Ruoxue. It was obvious that they couldn't wait anymore. Lung Ruoxue looked at them helplessly. Aren't these people a little too impatient? She had only just remembered yesterday that she had caught a 10,000-year centipede. She didn't expect that they would remember it today. What, you guys want to use it too? Lung Ruoxue blinked her beautiful eyes as she asked. Hee. We're researching a medicine that just so happens to require the 10,000-year centipede's poison. Shuer, you should have collected it, right? Don't tell us that there's none. Jiang Ning said immediately. The expression on his face was as if he was saying, if you don't, you'll be disappointed. Yes, there is, but... Lung Ruoxue was only halfway through her sentence when she turned to First Elder and asked, First Elder, do you need it too? I want a piece of the centipede's outer shell to be used for artifact refining. The First Elder said with a smile. Oh. Lung Ruoxue then looked at Lu Feng and Mo Yen. There was no need to ask these two. They must also be thinking about the centipede's shell. Smiling calmly, Lung Ruoxue shifted her thoughts and a huge centipede was moved out of her house. When the Great Elder and the others saw the size of the centipede, they couldn't help but sigh in their hearts. Good heavens, it's indeed a 10,000-year centipede. It had actually grown so big. Ayaya. This centipede shell was good stuff. The Great Elder's eyes were shining. He couldn't help but reach out his wolf claws and touch the black centipede's shiny hard shell. Lu Feng and Mo Yen were also very interested in the centipede's shell. After the First Elder made his move, the two of them also stretched out their wolf claws and stared at their prey with bright eyes. Then they said in unison, Shuer, this centipede's quality is pretty good. Its shell can definitely be made into a few sets of top-grade armor. Yes, I know, but I can't let you use its shell yet. Lung Ruoxue laughed evilly. Upon hearing this, the three craftsmen, led by the First Elder, immediately exploded with dissatisfaction. Little girl, you're not such a petty person. You can't even share a centipede like this with us? First Elder looked at Lung Ruoxue with a look of despair, as though she had said something she should not have. Little Shuer, can you share some with us? It's so big, you can't use it yourself. Lu Feng begged coquettishly. Yeah, I want one too. Mo Yen was more direct. It's not that I'm being stingy, but I really can't give it to you now. Lung Ruoxue said helplessly. This guy was still alive. However, before she could explain, Lung Ruoxue heard First Elder suddenly exclaim and jump up. There was still a look of lingering fear on his face, and it was obvious that he had suffered a great shock. It's moving. The First Elder stuttered. What moved? Luiyue and the others were baffled, not understanding what he was talking about. The centipede is moving. The Great Elder pointed at the motionless centipede on the ground. It can't be. Everyone was shocked, and their eyes widened in disbelief, especially Lu Feng. He did not believe the First Elder's words at all. He had touched the centipede just now, but why did he not feel it move? Thinking up to this point, Lu Feng even gave Centipede a few hard kicks before turning to the crowd. Look, it's not alive at all. First Elder, you're seeing things. You brat, you're the one who's seeing things. This guy is really alive. When First Elder heard Lu Feng's words, he was furious. Is that so? Lu Feng then turned around and carefully examined the centipede, his face filled with suspicion. Seeing that Lu Feng did not seem to believe him, the Great Elder could not take it anymore. He pulled Lung Ruoxue over and said, Girl, you're the one who took out this centipede, so you have the most right to speak. Do you think it's alive? Lung Ruoxue smiled faintly when she heard this. She then stepped forward and kicked the giant centipede. If you're still playing dead, it'll really tear you apart. Don't. Ancestor. I was wrong. Hearing this, the black centipede that was lying on the ground immediately struggled to get up and begged. Thanks, it's really alive. At this point, Lu Feng had no choice but to believe it. Since the centipede had already spoken, he couldn't possibly lie to himself. But soon after, he looked at Lung Ruoxue in disappointment and grumbled. Shuer, what do we do now? Salad. Didn't you want to use it to refine pills and weapons? Take it. I'm giving it to you. Lung Ruoxue said nonchalantly. When the centipede heard this, it immediately burst into tears and wailed. Ancestor. I'm already so well behaved, so why do you still want to kill me? Sob. Please leave me a way out. I don't want to die. Hearing Centipede's plea, First Elder and the others were all speechless. This guy was crying so miserably that they couldn't bring themselves to do it. However, the huge temptation of the centipede's shell made them unwilling to give up just like that. For a moment, they were extremely conflicted. First Elder looked at the centipede, then turned to look at Lung Ruoxue. He sighed and said, Girl, you've given us a difficult problem. No need to make things difficult for me. This guy is my captive. If you want to kill him, just do it. Besides, I kept it for my own use. Lung Ruoxue said nonchalantly. Then, why don't you crack it first and then we'll split it? After hesitating for a moment, First Elder couldn't help but suggest. Don't. Ancestors, please let me go. I'll be your slave. You won't regret keeping me alive. I promise. Hearing the Grand Elder's words, Centipede immediately began to plead with the others. Looking at the giant centipede with its huge eyes filled with tears, the First Elder and the others were in a dilemma. To be honest, they really felt that the centipede's greatest use was to refine pills and weapons. It's definitely a good material. Unfortunately, why was it a living one? Grand Elder and the others were not bloodthirsty people, so they really couldn't bear to kill Beastie, who had no enmity with them. Turning their heads, First Elder and the others no longer looked at the centipede. As the saying goes, out of sight, out of mind. If they continued to look, they were afraid that they would not be able to control the greed in their hearts. It was a good material. Girl, since it's still alive, let's let it go for now. Sighing heavily, the First Elder said with a face full of reluctance. It's up to you. I'm giving it to you anyway. However, remember to let me know before you kill it. Let me tame it first. It'll also be a contribution to my beast taming technique. Lung Ruoxue reminded him with a smile. Okay. First Elder and the others wanted to cry but had no tears. Could they refuse this gift? He really regretted asking Shuer for the centipede. Not only could he not use it immediately, but he also had to keep it. It was really a mistake. The few of them were filled with regret. After that, seeing that there was nothing else, Lung Ruoxue bade farewell to First Elder and the others before leaving behind only First Elder and a few others. They looked at the giant centipede with a face full of worry. What should I do with you? After staring at the black centipede for a long time, the Great Elder sighed. Don't kill me. I can do many things. I can give you my poison. Really, I promise to be obedient and listen to you. Just don't kill me. The giant centipede immediately expressed its determination. Then spit out some poison first. After hearing this, Jiang Ning said rudely, Damn it, how could he forget? If they wanted to extract the poison, they didn't even need to kill the centipede. As long as it was willing to cooperate, it would be fine. And now the centipede was obviously very willing to cooperate. The centipede nodded and then opened its mouth. Jiangning also took out a small white jade bottle and put it in front of the centipede's mouth. Not long after, the centipede vomited an entire bottle of poison. It was so tired that it was gasping for breath. It had to be said that extracting poison was also physical work. You've worked hard. Take a good rest. We'll continue later. Jiangning patted the centipede's head and praised it. The black centipede's face turned green when it heard the words continue later. However, it did not dare to resist and could only nod. The time that followed slowly passed by as he continued to extract poison from his body in Jiangning. The giant centipede was finally exhausted after being drained of countless bottles of poison. It fell to the ground and couldn't get up again. Even so, Jiangning didn't give up his right to exploit it. He even held a small white bottle in his hand and waited for it to continue spitting out poison. Seeing this, the big black centipede even wanted to die. Wu, can you not abuse and exploit the vulnerable group like this? They were really bullying the centipede. If this went on, it would be better to let these people directly kill it in the first place, so that it would not have to suffer so much. At this moment, the giant centipede hated its begging just now. The current him was living a life worse than death. In the end, the giant centipede passed out from overexertion. This time it was definitely not pretending. After glancing at the giant centipede that had died from exhaustion, the first elder and the others gave Jiangning a thumbs up. Amazing! Don't worship me, I really didn't do anything. Jiangning felt a little embarrassed when he saw the teasing look in their eyes. Chapter 27:31. Are the two of you here for a blind date? 1. You've done a lot really. The great elder laughed evilly. Today he finally realized how talented Jiangning was. Such a huge 10,000-year-old centipede had made him faint from exhaustion. One should know that not everyone had the ability to do such a thing. At least he couldn't. As he thought about it, he looked at Jiangning with even more admiration. Then he added, Jiangning, you can continue after it wakes up. It's best if it's dead from exhaustion. Then we can use its shell. Yes, good luck. It was rare that Lu Feng did not go against the great elder. Mo Yin took it for granted. Hey, I say, you guys are going too far. Let me be the bad guy, and you guys enjoy the fruits of my labor. Jiangning clenched his fists and roared. However, the few people present ignored his anger. More importantly, they knew the temperament of Jiangning. That guy would not get angry over such a matter. He was just a paper tiger. Just like that, Jiangning was given the heavy responsibility. The black centipede's miserable life had just begun. On the other side, after Lung Ruoxua left with the Grand Elder and the others, she returned to see Uncle Long. Seeing that Uncle Long and the others were still slumped in their chairs, too lazy to move, Lung Ruoxua could only shake her head helplessly. Shen Nua and the others are willing to let you come back. Uncle Long smiled when he saw Lung Ruoxua. Yes, I gave them the centipede. I'm fine now. Lung Ruoxua simply explained. Hehe. They're fine but I'm busy. Uncle Long said seriously. Speak. What do you need me to do? Lung Ruoxua sighed softly. She knew it. The Ascender Alliance and His Excellency Shui Mo haven't left yet. They're all looking for you. Uncle Long said directly. Sir Shui Mo really wants to spar with me. Lung Ruoxua said helplessly. The Ascender Alliance was looking for her, because of Zhang Miao and the others. However, she was a little conflicted about Shui Mo. This can't be helped. He just came to find you. Uncle Long said sympathetically. Lung Ruoxua was speechless. I've finally found you. At this moment, Shui Mo's voice came from behind Lung Ruoxua. Lung Ruoxua's heart skipped a beat. She turned around gloomily and greeted Shui Mo with a faint smile. Hello, Mr. Shui Mo. Little girl, don't stand on ceremony with me. Let's go and spar. With that, Shui Mo reached out to grab Lung Ruoxua and was about to walk out of the hall. Seeing this, Lung Ruoxua was beyond depressed. Today, including Shen Nua, she had already been dragged away by people without any explanation twice. Just as they were pulled to the entrance of the living room, the two of them met the Ascender Alliance's General Alliance Master and Li Jing. Upon seeing the two of them, Lung Ruoxua looked as if she had found her savior. She quickly turned to Shui Mo and said, Mr. Shui Mo, I'm sorry, but we can't spar now. I have something to deal with. What could be more important than our sparring? Hearing this, Shui Mo snorted and glanced at the Alliance Master and Li Jing. The two of them felt a chill in their hearts as they laughed bitterly in their hearts. They had made His Excellency Shui Mo unhappy. Was this considered being unjustly attacked? Thanks, all right. They indeed had something to discuss with Lung Ruoxue, but they did not dare to snatch her from Shui Mo. Although everyone was a reverent god, there was still a gap between reverent god level. As for His Excellency Shui Mo, he was definitely a top reverent god level figure. He couldn't afford to offend him. At the thought of this, the General Alliance Master said with great insight, although we have some business with Miss Lung, we have to follow the order of things. Since it was Mr. Shui Mo who found Lung Ruoxue first, please go first. We're not in a hurry. You bastard. You guys aren't anxious? You came later? When Lung Ruoxue heard the Alliance Master's words, the anger in her heart immediately rose. This lackey was definitely a model of bullying the weak and fearing the strong. Lung Ruoxue was furious. The consequences would be severe. However, Shui Mo was obviously very satisfied with the general leader's tactfulness. He patted the Alliance Master's shoulder in praise and praised, You're not bad. You're a promising child. Your Ascender Alliance will definitely have a bright future. With that, he didn't stand on ceremony and pulled away the unwilling Lung Ruoxue. Before she left, Lung Ruoxue glared daggers at the Alliance Master without holding back in order to vent her anger. After watching the two of them leave, the Alliance Master nudged Li Jing, who was beside him, and whispered, Did I offend Lung Ruoxue? Why is she glaring at me? Not only did I offend her, I've also offended her to the core. Li Jing covered his face and said helplessly, Sometimes. He really admired the Alliance Master's judgment. He was so focused on not offending the Qilin that he forgot about Lung Ruoxue's existence. Could it be that the Alliance Master really couldn't see Lung Ruoxue's unwillingness at all? However, it seemed that he couldn't blame the Alliance Master too much. After all, most people were like this. They were used to paying attention to the strong, and would unconsciously ignore the existence of the weak. However, the crucial point was that Lung Ruoxue was not a weakling. Li Jing even felt that Lung Ruoxue was scarier than Shui Mo. If you offended Shui Mo would just ignore you. However, if you offended Lung Ruoxue, the consequences. Li Jing didn't even dare to imagine. He believed that if he didn't help Lung Ruoxue out today, Zhang Miao and the rest wouldn't be able to get it back so easily. I didn't say anything. How did I offend her? The Alliance Master pondered for a while, but he still couldn't understand Li Jing's words. Li Jing looked at the Alliance Master deeply, then shook his head and sighed. He then turned around and left. The Alliance Master, who had been left behind, still had a silly expression on his face. After being stunned for a long time, he couldn't figure it out, so he left gloomily. At this moment, Lung Ruoxue had been dragged to her residence by Shui Mo. After entering the room, Shui Mo smiled at Lung Ruoxue and said, As long as you satisfy me, I'll let you go. Lung Ruoxue's face darkened. Why did these words sound so awkward? Wasn't it just a spar? However, no matter how awkward it was, Lung Ruoxue had to nod her head and accept her fate. Senior, how do you want to compare notes? I heard that you're proficient in formations, and I also know a little about formations. How about we have a competition? Shui Mo said impatiently. A formation? You want to spar with me on formations? Lung Ruoxue blinked her eyes. She didn't expect Shui Mo to be competing in this. However, did Beastie also know about formations? Seeing through Lung Ruoxue's doubts, Shui Mo said with pride, Don't look down on me. Even though I'm self-taught, I think I'm pretty good. Come, let's compete. All right. Lung Ruoxue agreed. Since they were competing in array techniques, she naturally wasn't afraid. However, what surprised her was that this Qilin was a self-taught Qilin. It really wasn't simple. Chapter 2732. Are the two of you here for a blind date? 2. Then we'll each come up with a formation and let the other side solve it. Whoever solves it first wins, okay? Seeing that Lung Ruoxua had agreed, Shui Mo continued to discuss with her. Sure, I don't have any problems with that. Lung Ruoxua nodded. However, she felt that she was being a bully. One must know that her master had left her with quite a number of array techniques. Even though she had yet to master all of them, she believed that she definitely knew more than this Qilin who had self-taught himself about array techniques. In this comparison, she would definitely be the one with the complete victory. Wouldn't this be an unfair victory? Lung Ruoxua was a little hesitant, but she told him the truth in the end. Mr. Shui Mo, my formation skills are all from my master. Are you sure you want to compete with me? What, you're looking down on me? I know you have a good master, but we haven't even started the competition yet, so it's still not certain who will win or lose, right? Shui Mo said confidently. I'm not looking down on you. I just don't want to win an unfair battle, so I'm telling you in advance. Lung Ruoxua explained. I see. Don't worry, I know what I'm doing. Shui Mo said nonchalantly. However, Lung Ruoxua's reminder improved his impression of her. After that, the two of them each set up a formation. Shui Mo's formation was a defensive one while Lung Ruoxua's was an offensive one. Because it was the first formation of the competition, both of them were at the level of testing each other. Neither of them revealed the formation to be too profound, and almost at the same time, the two of them broke the formation at the same time. Not bad. Shui Mo's eyes lit up as he stared at Lung Ruoxua, his face full of excitement. Same to you. However, this is only the first one. Let's continue. Lung Ruoxua reminded him with a faint smile. All right. Shui Mo was in high spirits and naturally wanted this. In the following time, the two of them used all kinds of formations, be it offensive, defensive, or spirit-gathering formations. As long as they could think of any formation that could be broken, the two of them gave it to each other. Moreover, the difficulty of the formation would naturally increase. After an unknown amount of time, the competition between the two of them continued. As the difficulty of the array increased, the speed of the two of them unraveling the array slowed down significantly. However, Lung Ruoxua had a powerful master, so even if Shui Mo's array was very difficult, it was only a matter of time for her. However, Shui Mo took longer and longer to think about Lung Ruoxua's array. When Shui Mo finally solved the last step of one of Lung Ruoxua's formations, he saw that Lung Ruoxua had already solved the formation, and was looking at him calmly. Shui Mo smiled and said, I've lost. Sir Shui Mo's formation skills are very high. If I didn't have a good master, I wouldn't be your match. Lung Ruoxua chuckled. She had also benefited a lot from the battle with Shui Mo. More importantly, Shui Mo's self-taught ability had given her a lot of inspiration. Little girl, being too humble is a sign of hypocrisy. Shui Mo joked. I'm serious. I'll give this to you. Let's continue sparring when we have time. Lung Ruoxua took out a book and passed it to Shui Mo. Shui Mo took it subconsciously and flipped it open. His expression changed immediately. Isn't this the Master Yes knowledge on formations? Was she really giving it to him? This was too precious. Shui Mo, who was holding the book with both hands, was so excited that he couldn't speak. Thanks. After a long while, he finally recovered. He looked at Lung Ruoxua in disbelief and asked, You're really giving this to me? No. I can't accept it, it's too precious. Although Shui Mo was very envious of that book on formations, he could not accept a reward without doing anything. He did not have anything of equal value to exchange with Lung Ruoxua, so he felt ashamed to accept it. However, even though he said that he would not accept it, he still stared at the book, his eyes reluctant to leave. I'm not giving this to you for free. You have to study it well, and then spar with me. You must know that my master's knowledge of formations is quite profound. Although I've already read most of it, I hope you can find new things from it. That way, it will give me more inspiration. Lung Ruoxua revealed her motive. As the saying goes, 2 heads are better than 1. Among the people Lung Ruoxua knew, the one who was so obsessed with formations was definitely this Qilin. Moreover, although she had not known this Qilin for a long time, she could still trust the character of the Qilin race. However, Lung Ruoxua still added, Only you can read this book. You can't give it to anyone else. Can you promise me that? Yes, I know. I won't tell anyone. Shui Mo understood what Lung Ruoxue meant and quickly promised. In fact, there were not many people in the divine realm who knew about formation arrays, and were also interested in them. This was because formation arrays were really too profound and difficult to understand. Many people did not have the patience to study them. Therefore, it was indeed very rare for people who loved to study formation arrays to find a like-minded person to study formation arrays with. Lung Ruoxue's words were exactly what Shui Mo was thinking. Shui Mo was also very happy to find a like-minded friend. In order to live up to his expectations and also because he was too obsessed with formations, he couldn't wait to read the book as soon as he got it. Shui Mo was so focused on his book that he couldn't see anything else. Seeing how infatuated he was, Lung Ruoxue smiled helplessly and quietly left his room. When she left the room and breathed in the fresh air, Lung Ruoxue suddenly realized that she had been sparring with Shui Mo for God knows how long. If she remembered correctly, it was daytime when Shui Mo had pulled her to spar with him. Why was it still daytime? Could it be that it's already the second day? Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but wipe off her cold sweat. In any case, the time would definitely not be short. Lung Ruoxue walked out of Shui Mo's courtyard and into the living room. Swear, Sir Shui Mo has finally let you off. Uncle Long was the only one in the living room. When he saw Lung Ruoxue, he couldn't help but tease her. Yup. Uncle Long, why are you alone today? Did the others go back to their rooms to sleep? Lung Ruoxue asked curiously. Swear, do you know how many days it has been since you were dragged away by Sir Shui Mo? After hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, Uncle Long asked helplessly. A few days? Lung Ruoxue blinked her eyes. She was just about to ask about this. It'll be a month and 5 days. Uncle Long sighed. It's been that long. Lung Ruoxue was speechless. Why didn't she feel anything at all? From the looks of it, cultivation really knew no time. Yes. The Ascender Alliance's chief is about to go crazy from waiting, but he doesn't dare to disturb you, hee. Uncle Long wanted to laugh at the thought of the old man running around in circles like a headless fly. Then who is to blame? Who was the one who asked me to spar with Sir Shui Mo first? When Lung Ruoxue thought of this, she still held a grudge. Chapter 2733. Are the two of you here for a blind date? 3 Back then, Lung Ruoxue felt that she would be letting him down if she didn't let him wait for her. Yup. You didn't come out for so long, and he was so anxious, but there was nothing he could do. You didn't see his expression. It's so funny. Uncle Long vividly described to Lung Ruoxue the General Master's expression at that time, and Lung Ruoxue felt very relieved after hearing it. However, even so, she didn't plan to meet the General Alliance Master immediately. However, the Alliance Master heard the news from somewhere, and immediately ran to the living room after knowing that she had appeared. The moment he saw Lung Ruoxue, the Alliance Master, who was still panting, immediately said impatiently, Miss Lung, I have something to discuss with you. Let's have a talk. He had finally met her. This time, he would not let her off even if he died. I'm sorry, Chief, I'm not free right now. Lung Ruoxue rejected without even thinking. Don't be like this. Miss Lung, I've been waiting for you for a long time. Hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, the Alliance Master wanted to cry but had no tears. He really regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. If he had known that Shui Mo had dragged Lung Ruoxue away for so long, he would not have been so humble. Unfortunately, he had realized it a little too late. Lung Ruoxue was obviously still angry at him. Therefore, he only glanced at the General Alliance Master indifferently and said, Alliance Master, did I make you wait for so long? Oh, it's all my fault. When the Alliance Master heard this, he quickly admitted his mistake. However, Lung Ruoxue still did not give him a good look. It was only now that he believed Li Jing's words. He had really offended Lung Ruoxue badly. It's good that you know. Lung Ruoxue said indifferently. Miss Lung, please be magnanimous and forgive me. The Alliance Master continued to whisper, and even acted like a mistreated wife as she pleaded. Seeing him like this, Lung Ruoxue was slightly flustered. She thought to herself, this alliance master is indeed abnormal. He actually learned how to act pitiful. However, was it acceptable for a tall and manly man to make such an expression? All right, if you have anything to say, say it. Lung Ruoxue couldn't take it anymore. Now, she just wanted to get rid of this General Alliance Master as soon as possible, so that he wouldn't go crazy here. Zhang Miao and the others, I wonder what it will take for Miss Lung to return them to me? As soon as the Alliance Master heard that there was a chance, he immediately asked without beating around the bush. He couldn't help but think that Li Jing had taught him to act pitiful. It was indeed useful. You still want them? Lung Ruoxue blinked her eyes as she asked in surprise. Ugh. What was the meaning of this? Can I not? The Alliance Master felt that he obviously couldn't keep up with Lung Ruoxue's pace, so he could only stare at her in a daze. Those people are really not of much use. Are you sure you want to take them back? Seeing that he did not understand, Lung Ruoxue could only make her words even more clear. After hearing this, the Alliance Master couldn't help but wipe the cold sweat on his forehead. Even if it was useless, he still had to take it back. What's the point of leaving her with Lung Ruoxue? No matter what, they are all members of the Ascender Alliance. I can't just leave them be. The Alliance Master said in a low voice. If that's the case, then I won't be polite. Lung Ruoxue nodded. The Alliance Master was taken aback once again. He didn't understand how Lung Ruoxue was going to be so rude. Then he heard Lung Ruoxue say, you can redeem Zhang Miao and the others. This is the price list. Pay according to the above, and you can take them away. After that, the Alliance Master received a thin piece of paper filled with the items needed for the ransom. After reading it, his face turned pale and his body trembled. Miss Lung, I have to go back and discuss with the Vice President and the elders. I will take my leave first. After a long time, the Alliance Master stammered. Then, like a zombie, he left the living room with stiff limbs. When he saw the Alliance Master come in high spirits, but leave in such a defeated manner, Uncle Long was extremely curious about what Lung Ruoxue had done to him. He could not help but ask, Schwerer, what did you do to him? Why is his body so stiff? Didn't I give him a list? After he sees that list, he'll probably think that there's no need to redeem those trash. Lung Ruoxue laughed evilly. As expected, Lung Ruoxue soon heard the news that the Alliance Master and Li Jing had left. However, when Uncle Long received the news, he was a little conflicted. If the Ascender Alliance really didn't want those trash, they wouldn't be of much use. But what Uncle Long didn't know was that the Alliance Master and Li Jing didn't leave in a hurry, because they were so scared that they didn't want Zhang Miao and the others anymore. They just felt that the matter was of great importance, and needed to go back to discuss it immediately. Thanks, however, after they returned, the opinions of the higher-ups of the Ascender Alliance were very big. At least more than half of them did not agree to pay an extremely high price to redeem those who made their own decisions. As a result, this matter was naturally put on hold. Li Jing had also privately informed Lung Ruoxue and the others of this result. However, Lung Ruoxue and the others did not care about the Ascender Alliance's decision at all. They naturally did what they had to do. Shui Emo was still focused on studying Master Yes' insights on formations, and had no time to disturb Lung Ruoxue. Thus, Lung Ruoxue resumed her days of refining pills and weapons. 2 months passed in the blink of an eye. One day, Lung Ruoxue suddenly received a report that someone from the Qilin clan was requesting an audience. When she heard that it was the Qilin clan, Lung Ruoxue immediately put down the things she was doing and headed to the living room. At this moment, Uncle Long and the rest were sitting in the living room. However, the moment Lung Ruoxue entered the living room, she realized that the atmosphere was obviously not good. In his surprise, the 2 men who had their backs to him had already turned their heads. You're Lung Ruoxue? One of the men suddenly said. Lung Ruoxue nodded as she sized up the 2 unfamiliar men. Needless to say, the beast's human forms were all extremely beautiful men. The 2 men in front of her were no exception. However, what surprised Lung Ruoxue was that these 2 men actually had the power of a godly venerable rank. How many reverent god-level experts did the Qilin clan have? She had already seen 3 during this period of time. It seemed like the Qilin race was indeed full of talents. Lung Ruoxue sighed. Just as Lung Ruoxue was sizing up the two men were also fastidiously sizing her up. After staring at her for a long time, the man who had spoken earlier said, "Human, I really can't see what's so special about you. Why is he so famous?" Ugh. Lung Ruoxue was a little depressed. Should she continue this conversation? However, after some thought, Lung Ruoxue still replied, "There's nothing special about me. I'm just an ordinary human being." At least you have self-awareness. You're indeed too weak. A weak woman like you definitely won't be able to find a partner in our Qilin clan," the man said in a serious tone. After he finished speaking, Lung Ruoxue's gloominess deepened. It was fine to say that she was weak, but what did this have to do with finding a partner? Moreover, was this considered a personal attack? Seeing that Lung Ruoxue's expression did not look too good, the other man hurriedly explained, "Miss Lung, please don't misunderstand. Feng Yi didn't mean anything else. He just wanted to say that you don't meet the criteria of our Qilin race for a mate. We men of the Qilin race prefer tall and strong women. Only such women can better bear the children of the Qilin race." Lung Ruoxue was speechless. She really felt that it was better if the man didn't explain. After he explained, she felt even more depressed. "You bastard. Are you here to pick a partner? Why was he so picky with her? And even if you're here to choose a partner, I don't want to be chosen by you, do I?" Hence, Lung Ruoxue could not understand what these two men were up to. What were they trying to do? Lung Ruoxue was so angry that she was going crazy. However, Uncle Long and the others were laughing to themselves. They didn't expect the two from the Qilin clan to say this first when they saw Lung Ruoxue. However, they had heard of the unique aesthetic of the Qilin clan, and had seen it with their own eyes today. Furthermore, the person they were nitpicking on was little Shui. When they saw Lung Ruoxue's expression as if she was about to go crazy, Uncle Long and the others suddenly felt a sense of love. After all, there were not many people who could anger Shui on their first meeting. Lung Ruoxue was truly infuriated. After a long silence, she took a few deep breaths and told herself not to be calculative with these two idiots. She then opened her pink lips and asked, "Are the two of you here for a blind date?" "Blind date? Of course not," Feng Yi said quickly, his face still showing a look of disdain. "Then what are you guys doing here?" Lung Ruoxue almost roared. "Our Qilin race's ancestor has been in Demon City for over 2 months, but he hasn't returned yet. As such, we've been ordered to investigate this matter," Feng Yi said honestly. "Investigate? Do you think we've killed him?" When Lung Ruoxue heard this, her anger flared up. "Murder? Of course not. Even if all of you were to join forces, you would still not be a match for my ancestor. We're only here to investigate where our ancestor went," Feng Yi said with a look of disdain. "You're saying that all of us here are no match for Sir Shui Mo?" Hearing this, Lung Ruoxue squinted her eyes and said in a dangerous tone, "How detestable. Not only did this fellow criticize her and look down on her, but he was also looking down on everyone in Demon City. Really, Uncle can endure it, but Aunt can't." Just as Lung Ruoxue was about to launch an attack, the man beside Feng Yi saw that the situation was not looking good and quickly explained, "Miss Lung, please don't misunderstand. I didn't misunderstand. I heard him clearly. That's what he meant." Lung Ruoxue didn't even give the other party a chance to finish his sentence before she interrupted him. Ugh. The man didn't know what to say. He turned and glared at Feng Yi, blaming him for not knowing how to speak. But in fact, his words were not any better, he just did not realize it. At this moment, the man heard Lung Ruoxue pointing at Feng Sun and saying, "Since you look down on all of us here, then I'll challenge you to a one-on-one fight." Chapter 2734. If you lose, I'll marry you one-on-one? Hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, Feng Sun couldn't help but widen his eyes. His face was full of shock, and he couldn't help but think to himself, is this woman out of her mind? She, a divine emperor, was actually challenging him, a godly venerable rank expert, one-on-one? Not only was Feng Yi surprised, even the other man had a shocked look on his face. It was obvious that both of them felt that Lung Ruoxue was not normal. Could it be that they had triggered him? That Miss Lung, please calm down. A one-on-one fight is not a joke. The man couldn't help but remind her kindly. That's right. I refuse to fight you one-on-one. Feng Yi agreed. What, are you scared? Lung Ruoxua provoked. What a joke. Why would I be afraid? I'm just afraid that it'd be bad if I accidentally hurt a weak woman like you. What if you can't get married and come to me? Feng Yi said with an infuriating look. When Lung Ruoxua heard this, she was so angry that she wanted to beat someone up. No, it was beating up a beast. You bastard. Who did he think she was? Even if she couldn't get married, she wouldn't blame an idiot, okay? Since you're not afraid, then let's have a one-on-one fight. Don't worry, even if I can't get married, I won't rely on you. Lung Ruoxua suppressed her anger as she spoke. She was planning to teach this fellow a lesson later on. This stupid beastie really did not know how to talk. I see. Then what if you lose? Feng Yi was tempted. He had long heard of how powerful Lung Ruoxua was. If he had the chance to let her experience the experts of the Qilin clan, he would be very willing. When he returned, he might even have the capital to show off. If you lose, I'll pay you 1 million top-grade crystals. Lung Ruoxua replied without hesitation. Feng Yi's eyes lit up when he heard that. He was very satisfied with Lung Ruoxua's words. Top-grade crystal. He liked it. It's settled then. Afraid that she would go back on her words, Feng Yi immediately said. Yes, but if I lose, I'll pay you 1 million top-grade crystals. What if you lose? Lung Ruoxua asked calmly. How could I possibly lose? Feng Yi said confidently. I don't care how you lost. I just want to ask you, what will you give me if you lose? This way, our competition will be fair. Lung Ruoxua asked stubbornly. She wasn't that stupid to just pay the price and let this Kirin take advantage of her. I don't have 1 million top-grade crystal stones. How about I marry you if I lose? After thinking for a while, Feng Yi made up his mind. When he said this, his face was full of struggle and unwillingness, as if he had suffered a great grievance. Everyone present, including Lung Ruoxua, was in a state of confusion when they heard this. This bet? Let's count it as a bet. Isn't it a little too big? Uncle Long and the others were so scared that their little hearts were trembling. They prayed from the bottom of their hearts that Shui would still lose to this Qilin. They weren't betraying others. However, they felt that if Shui really won and this Kirin insisted on marrying her, the mistress of the dark world who was currently somewhere would probably flip out. At the thought of this, Uncle Long and the others couldn't help but shiver. The consequences would be too terrifying. While Uncle Long and the rest were having wild thoughts, Lung Ruoxua's forehead was filled with black lines. To think that this Qilin could come up with such an idea. More importantly, what are you trying to do with that reluctant look on your face? Could it be that it was a grievance for him to marry her? It was wrong. It was wrong. What was she thinking? Pulling back her furious thoughts that had drifted to the horizon, Lung Ruoxua was about to reject the other party's suggestion. However, before she could speak, an even angrier voice rang in everyone's ears. You bastard! Where did this toad that wants to eat swan meat come from? Thanks. As she spoke, a white bolt of lightning shot into Lung Ruoxua's arms. Then, she glared at Feng Yi with her teeth and claws bared. When Uncle Long and the others saw that Song had actually come, they knew that things were bad. But in front of Song, they didn't dare to say anything and could only try their best to pretend to be invisible. Where did this little kitten come from? It's so cute. Seeing that it was a snow-white kitten speaking, Feng Sun reached out his finger to tease it out of habit. Back in his tribe, he had always comforted the angry little Qilin in this way. Unfortunately, he had forgotten that the kitten in front of him was not a cub of their race. As a result, as soon as his finger stretched out, Song immediately clawed back without hesitation. Seeing this, Feng Yi could only quickly retract his fingers. But even though he was very fast, he was not as fast as Song Chu's claws, so 2 thin claw marks were left on his fingers. He's really wild. Although he was scratched, Feng Yi was not angry. Song was angry. You bastard. He actually teased it like a cat. Although it looked like a cat now, it wasn't a real cat. So, Song immediately decided that he hated this guy who didn't have good eyes. More importantly, this guy actually wanted to marry his girl? Emph. In your dreams. In your dreams. You're the wild one, your entire family is wild. You toad. Azure said hatefully. Toads. Was he talking about him? Fengyi was very depressed. Although he was not the most handsome man in the tribe, he was in the top 10 in the Qilin tribe. Who knew how many female Qilin had a crush on him? How did he become a toad when it came to this little kitten? Furthermore, he was clearly praising the cat. But why did this little kitten turn around and scold him? Fengyi felt extremely wronged. Lung Ruoxue couldn't bear to see Qilin's teary eyes as if it had suffered a lot of grievances. She urged Song. Song, he looks down on all of us from the land of evil demons. Go and bite him ruthlessly. As long as she thought of releasing the Azure and biting the Qilin, Lung Ruoxue felt that this scene was especially lovely. However, when Song heard this, he turned around with a constipated look and glared at Lung Ruoxue. Girl, I'm not a dog. Even if he's not a dog, he can still bite him. Lung Ruoxue said weakly. I want he. He was too stinky. At most, I'll scratch him. Azure bargained. That works too. Lung Ruoxue agreed. Excuse me. Are you guys discussing biting me or scratching me? At this moment, Fengyi, who felt that something was wrong, interrupted. Correct, but no reward. Lung Ruoxue nodded with a smile. How could you do this? Fengyi's face was filled with grief and indignation. Then he reminded her. We haven't had a one-on-one yet. Didn't you want a one-on-one fight? I do want a one-on-one fight, but am not satisfied with your conditions. Lung Ruoxue sighed. Why not? I'm such a beautiful man. What are you not satisfied with? You should know that you don't fit our Qilin race's taste. If it wasn't for the fact that I couldn't take out 1 million top-grade crystals, I wouldn't be willing to sacrifice myself like this. Seeing Lung Ruoxue's unwillingness, Fengyi seemed to feel even more aggrieved. He wasn't willing to either, okay? However, he felt that a stunningly beautiful man like him should be worth at least 1 million top-grade crystals, right? More importantly, he didn't think he would lose. Since he couldn't lose, what did it matter if he said that, right? Chapter 2735. If you lose, I'll marry you. 2. Fengyi's plan was very good, but he had to face Lung Ruoxue. Lung Ruoxue, who was also very confident in her own abilities, also felt that she would win. As such, she would naturally not agree to his conditions. Azure was even more unhappy. In his heart, no one was worthy of his girl. One had to know that only that stinky evildoer could barely obtain his approval. So what was this Qilin? You toad. Don't even think about eating my girl's swan meat. Don't have any ideas about my girl, understand? At the same time he roared. I'm not a toad, and I don't have any ideas about your girl. She's not my type. I've also said that this is the greatest price I can pay. It's 1 million top-grade crystals. Fengyi was furious. This little kitten looked quite cute on the outside, but why was her mouth so vicious? She called him a toad again and again. She really couldn't stand it. Fengyi really felt that if he didn't get angry, the man and cat would really think that he was easy to bully. So you're only worth 1 million top-grade crystals. Hearing him say this, Azure's face was filled with disdain. Of course, it's more than that. Fengyi quickly said. Then you don't have to sacrifice so much. There's really no need. Lung Ruoxue couldn't wait for him to take back his words. Otherwise, she would die of depression. But I don't have 1 million top-grade crystals for you. Although he knew that he would not lose, Fengyi had to say this. He even had some hope that Lung Ruoxue would be generous and tell him that he did not need to pay. But such a thought was obviously daydreaming. Then don't fight my girl one-on-one. How about we fight one-on-one? If you lose, you'll be my slave for the rest of your life. How about it? Before Lung Ruoxue could speak, Song suggested with a smirk. You. Fengyi couldn't help but blink and looked at Song up and down. Can you do it? With your small body, can you withstand my kick? You bastard. Who said I can't? Who dares to say I can't do it? I can't scratch him to death. When Cold One heard that there were beasts suspecting that he couldn't do it, his anger rose. After that, it gestured with its little paw and said to Feng Sun, Kid, I'll let you know if I can do it or not. All you need to do now is to tell me if you dare to fight me one-on-one. Why wouldn't I dare? Let's make this clear. What if you lose? Feng Yi said without any suspicion. If I lose, my girl will pay you 2 million top-grade crystals. Song said generously. Deal. Feng Yi agreed. When Uncle Long and the others heard this, they couldn't help but show sympathy in their eyes. They truly felt that Song and Lung Ruoxua, that bad girl, were working together to scheme against the silly boy. Poor Feng Yi, he actually fell into a trap like this. However, Feng Yi didn't understand why Uncle Long and the others looked at him so differently. He thought that Uncle Long and the others were worried about the little kitten. However, after scheming against Feng Yi, Lung Ruoxua still felt that she had not vented her anger. She then had her eyes on another man. She was all smiles as she asked the other man in a very kind manner. And you are? I'm Bing Xiao of the Qilin clan. The man introduced himself. Bing. Lung Ruoxua was stunned for a moment before she asked, Shall we have a one-on-one? Thanks. Ice Cloud was silent and speechless. In his heart, he couldn't help but wonder if Lung Ruoxua was addicted to one-on-one combat. Let's have a one-on-one too. Seeing that Bing Xiao did not respond, Lung Ruoxua asked again. I don't think so. The corner of Bing Xiao's mouth twitched. He was obviously provoked. He did not think that he had offended Lung Ruoxua like Feng Yi. Why did Lung Ruoxua have her eyes on him? Bing Xiao couldn't understand. However, Lung Ruoxua clearly had no intention of letting him off. She said directly, If you're willing to fight me one-on-one as long as you win, I'll pay you 10 million top-grade crystals. How about it? 10 million? Uncle Long and the others were shocked. Shue'er's cannonball was really big. He just didn't know if Ice Cloud could withstand it. When Ice Cloud heard the price, he was so shocked that he couldn't say anything. When Feng Yi heard the price, he was also shocked, but what followed was a strong sense of envy, jealousy, and hatred. Before Bing Xiao could react, he shouted angrily, Why is he only giving me 10 million while I'm only giving 2 million? You want to hear the truth? Lung Ruoxua raised her brows and asked indifferently, I must hear the truth. Feng Yi roared, You're not even worth 2 million. However, I have to give face to Azure. Since it said that it will pay you 2 million if it loses, of course I have to pay. Lung Ruoxua said honestly. But her truth was a huge blow to Feng Yi. Feng Yi pointed at Lung Ruoxua. He was so angry that his eyes were wide open. He could not form a complete sentence for a long time. You what? Come, let's have a one-on-one. Not wanting Feng Yi to cause trouble for his girl, Song didn't say a word. He directly picked up Feng Yi and teleported away. Lung Ruoxua and the rest were rather indifferent to this scene, but Bing Xiao was extremely shocked. Feng Yi was a supreme god. How was it possible for a cat to grab her clothes and drag her away? After witnessing this scene, Bing Xiao was even more unwilling to fight Lung Ruoxua one-on-one. He told Lung Ruoxua tactfully, Miss Lung, we're here to look for the old ancestor, so it's better not to have a one-on-one fight. Since you insist on refusing, then I won't force you. Lung Ruoxua said helplessly. She was well aware that Song's actions must have frightened Bing Xiao. This was something that could not be helped. For a cat to drag a reverent god away, it was indeed quite scary. However, Song definitely didn't think that his actions would scare Ice Cloud. Otherwise, it wouldn't have taken Feng Yi away without saying anything. When Song brought Feng Yi back, Feng Yi's image had changed. The handsome man who had originally looked noble, cold, and extraordinary was now no different from a beggar. The gorgeous clothes on his body had also been torn into strips of cloth, hanging on his body on the verge of falling at any time. In addition, his originally extremely handsome face was also full of claw marks, looking simply too horrible to look at. Moreover, Feng Yi's mental state was clearly not good. As soon as Feng Yi saw Bing Xiao, he couldn't help but hug him and cry. As he cried, he choked. Oh, that's too scary. It was too terrifying. It was simply not human. It was a demon. I want to leave this place. It's too dangerous here. This isn't a place we should be at. I want to go home. Listening to Feng Yi's tearful complaints, Bing Xiao's forehead was already full of cold sweat. Needless to say, Feng Yi must have suffered a great shock. Otherwise, he would not be like this, holding him and crying like a helpless little boy. Chapter 2736. If you lose, I'll marry you. 3. At this moment he suddenly felt extremely fortunate. He was lucky that he had resisted the temptation of 10 million top-grade crystals, and did not agree to Lung Ruoxia's one-on-one challenge. Otherwise he might be in the same situation as Feng Yi. Patting Feng Yi's back, Bing Xiao comforted him silently. Seeing this, Song laid comfortably in Lung Ruoxia's arms and grinned. Little Feng Yi, you can't leave me. You've forgotten that you lost to me, so you'll have to be my slave for the rest of your life. That's right. Thinking of this, Bing Xiao sympathized with Feng Yi even more. As for Feng Yi, he could not take this blow. His eyes rolled back and he fainted. But even when he fainted, Song still waved his claws and pulled Feng Yi over from Ice Cloud's side. He raised a small claw and said to Ice Cloud, "He can't leave, he belongs to me now." Bing Xiao nodded helplessly. He couldn't meddle in Feng Yi's affairs. "I want to know the whereabouts of our ancestor." Since things had come to this, Bing Xiao could only return to the main topic. "He's currently staying in the guest courtyard. If you want to see him, I can try to see if I can invite him out." Lung Ruoxia didn't make things difficult for Ice Cloud. "The old ancestor is still here?" Ice Cloud was shocked. "Of course." Lung Ruoxia nodded. That old Qilin wouldn't leave even if they were to chase it away. The truth was just as Lung Ruoxia had thought. When she had sent someone to invite Shui Mo, the answer she got was that His Excellency Shui Mo was not free. Ice Cloud also heard the report. After sighing helplessly, he requested, "I would like to meet the ancestor personally. Is that possible? He's your family's ancestor, not my prisoner." "What's wrong with that?" Lung Ruoxia was helpless when she heard Bing Xiao's words. "Thank you." Bing Xiao was still very polite. Feng Yi had already died here, so how could he still be so rude? Then Lung Ruoxia personally brought Bing Xiao to Shui Mo's residence. Lung Ruoxia knocked on the door of Shui Mo's room. "Senior," he said. "Little girl, quickly come in." Hearing Lung Ruoxia's voice, Shui Mo was obviously very excited. When Lung Ruoxia brought Bing Xiao into the room, Shui Mo started explaining the formation he had just broken without a second word. Bing Xiao was completely ignored. Seeing that his ancestor didn't even notice him, Bing Xiao felt helpless. Now he finally knew why the old ancestor had not returned to the clan for so long. He was studying formations here. By the time Shui Mo and Lung Ruoxia finished their discussion on formations, the sky had already turned dark. At this moment, Shui Mo finally noticed the existence of Ice Cloud and asked in surprise, "Ice Cloud? When did you get here?" "Old ancestor, I came in with Miss Lung." Ice Cloud was speechless. "Oh, you're not as eye-catching as the little girl. No wonder I didn't see you. But, what are you doing here?" Shui Mo asked in confusion. Bing Xiao was silent for a moment, then explained. "The clan saw that the ancestor had not returned for so long, so they sent Feng Yi and me to find out where the ancestor is. You want to know my whereabouts? Don't tell me I'm going to lose it?" Shui Mo was helpless when he heard this reason. He wasn't a 3-year-old child. Did he have to keep such a close eye on him? "Ancestor, you know that the divine realm isn't peaceful." Bing Xiao was about to defend his clan but was interrupted by Shui Mo. "So what if it's not peaceful? I'm very safe here with the little girl. Even Rhyme doesn't dare to come here. At least not now, right, little girl?" Shui Mo turned to ask Lung Ruoxia. "Yes, the Ripple Witch is injured, so she won't be looking for trouble with me for the time being." "Of course, I don't plan on looking for trouble with her at the moment. We're like water from a well and water from a river." Lung Ruoxia nodded in agreement. "You heard that?" Shui Mo proudly raised his head like Bing Xiao. Bing Xiao didn't know what to say. This old ancestor had always been willful and reckless, doing things as he pleased. Sometimes it really made the clansmen feel helpless, but this old ancestor was extremely important regardless of his identity and status. He was also the other person that the Qilin clan had to protect other than their clan leader. "Thanks, old ancestor." Bing Xiao wanted to say something, but Shui Mo obviously didn't have time to deal with him. "Since you've seen me, hurry up and leave. Don't delay my research on formations." With that, Shui Mo went back to his own business. Bing Xiao had no choice but to leave Shui Mo's room with Lung Ruoxia. When he returned to the living room, Bing Xiao was still sighing. Feng Yi, who was still in the living room, had been woken up. Seeing the ice cloud, Feng Yi couldn't help but cry again. What did he mean by a single misstep would result in eternal hatred? He was the best example. You say he's fine, but why is he looking down on this and that? Now, not only did he stir up a hornet's nest, but he also got himself in trouble. At this moment, he finally understood why Lung Ruoxue refused to agree to his proposal of marrying her if he lost. It turned out that she had already known about this. It was a pity that he was like a silly boy, jumping into a pit like this. Woo. He also understood what Uncle Long and the others were looking at him with sympathy for. But it was too late to understand now. Regret. He truly regretted it. He regretted it so much that his intestines turned green. Seeing Bing Xiao, Feng Yi pulled him over and asked in a low voice, "You didn't agree to fight that woman one-on-one, did you? I'm telling you, I suspect that she deliberately dug a hole for us to jump in." It had to be said that Feng Yi was still a good friend, and the Qilin race was indeed very united. Otherwise, he wouldn't be so concerned about what happened to Bing Xiao. Hearing this, Bing Xiao's mouth twitched. "Don't worry, I didn't agree to it." "That's good. What do I do? Please help me think of a way. I don't want to stay here, and I don't want to be a cat's servant." Seeing that Bing Xiao was fine, Feng Yi recalled his tragic experience. "I think you should stay here for the time being." After thinking for a while, Ice Cloud said, Why?" Feng Yi was a little angry. "Damn Ice Fiend, he's so disloyal. I care so much about him, but he wants me to stay here and work like a slave?" "Woo. He didn't want to. The ancestor is here. It looks like you don't want to go back. It's good that you're staying here to serve old Grand Madam. And at the same time, you can bond with Lung Ruoxue and the others. Perhaps you'll be free when they're happy." Ice Cloud suggested. "It seems very reasonable." Feng Yi thought for a while before saying, "Do you think I would trick you?" Ice Cloud said in a bad mood. "How can that be? You're my best buddy. How could I leave you to die?" Feng Yi tried to please him. At least you understand." Ice Cloud said, satisfied. I understand. Feng Yi quickly agreed. After a short exchange, Bing Xiao easily convinced the originally unwilling Feng Yi. Then he turned to Lung Ruoxue and said, "Miss Lung, since I know that the old ancestor is studying the array here, then I have nothing to worry about. I will take my leave and return to the clan first." "All right," he said. Lung Ruoxue nodded and personally sent Ice Cloud out of Demon City. As for Feng Yi, he could only watch as Ice Cloud left before he resigned himself to his fate and stayed behind. At first, Feng Yi had consoled himself by saying that he was willing to stay and not make a scene because of his ancestor. But when he really stayed, he was surprised to find that the days in Demon City were so blissful. There was delicious food every day, and all kinds of precious fruits were available. He could eat as much as he wanted. This kind of life was really so happy that he didn't think about home. The only flaw was that he could always hear miserable and painful screams in his room. After asking around, he found out that the screams were from Demon City's enemies. He became even more obedient after knowing that. In addition, although Tsong had won and wanted him to work like a horse for the rest of his life, Tsong clearly didn't have the mood to care about him. Thus, in a sense he, Tsong's nominal servant, was basically a person who had nothing to do. As for Lung Ruoxue, ever since she sent Bing Xiao away, she had disappeared without a trace. It was said that she had gone into closed-door cultivation. 3 months later, the Qilin clan had sent their clansmen over again. But this time, it wasn't Bing Xiao, who they knew, but another unfamiliar man. In the living room, Uncle Long received the man and assessed his strength. He was speechless when he saw that he was another reverent god-level cultivator. Did the Qilin clan not have any other clansmen with strength? Why was it that every time someone came, it was a reverent god-level beast? Uncle Long couldn't figure it out, but he was too embarrassed to ask what the Qilin race meant, so he could only ask the man's purpose for coming. After hearing Uncle Long's words, the man took out an invitation card and handed it over with a smile. The Qilin clan has solemnly invited Miss Lung Ruoxue as a guest. Hearing this, Uncle Long was so surprised that he couldn't close his mouth. Did I hear wrong? The The Qilin race, which had always kept a low profile and didn't like to have too much contact with people, actually invited little Shui to be a guest? Although it was unexpected, Uncle Long felt that it was definitely a good thing. Although Shui Mo and Feng Yi were both in Demon City, one of them was a formation fanatic and a foodie. Other than formations and food, he did not care about anything else. Feng Yi was even more stupid. He often offended people with his words and did not know how to read people's expressions. Therefore, it was better to visit the Qilin race personally than to have more contact with the two. The opportunity to go to the Qilin clan was definitely hard to come by. More importantly, unless the Qilin clan personally invited them, no one would have the chance to go to their base camp. If they had taken the initiative to ask for a visit, they would not have agreed at all. Humans aren't welcome in the first place, so how could I let you go home? Wasn't that just daydreaming? Chapter 2737. Devil's Forest 1. Thus, Uncle Long immediately agreed to the invitation, and said that he would head to the Qilin clan's territory as soon as possible. However, the person from the Qilin race was obviously a little impatient. After knowing Uncle Long's plan, he said tactfully, "I don't think we should wait any longer. As the saying goes, it's better to come now than to choose a day. You guys should come with me now." "Leave now?" Uncle Long opened his mouth speechlessly and thought, isn't this a little too impatient? If they didn't know, wouldn't they suspect that they were up to no good? However, Uncle Long believed that the Qilin race wouldn't have any bad intentions. After all, the Qilin race had a good reputation in the divine realm. However, he was afraid that he would not be able to go along with the other party's wishes on this matter. After making up some words, Uncle Long said very vaguely, "Isn't it a little too rushed to leave now? We were not prepared at all. What are you all preparing for? I'll help you." The man was very enthusiastic. Uncle Long broke out in a cold sweat. Too enthusiastic, what the hell? This time, Uncle Long didn't dare to follow this guy to the Qilin clan immediately. Who knew what was going on there? As for the preparations, we can do it ourselves. However, Schwerer is currently in closed-door cultivation. I don't know when she will come out. Uncle Long had no choice but to use this excuse. Then what do we do? The man's eyes widened and he looked at Uncle Long. We can only wait for her to come out of seclusion. Once she comes out, we will immediately head to the Qilin clan. Uncle Long promised. I see. It seems that I can only stay here for the time being. You want not welcome me when you set off together, right? The man said after thinking for a moment. No, you're welcome. Hearing that the man wanted to stay, Uncle Long could only feel helpless. That's good. By the way, can I see the ancestor? Everyone in our clan misses him. The man asked. Sir Shui Mo has been studying formations. I don't know if he would want to see you. Uncle Long was in a difficult position. He couldn't make the decision for the old Qilin. It doesn't matter, you just have to bring me to his residence. The man said disapprovingly. That's not a problem. Uncle Long nodded and brought the man to Shui Mo's house. When they arrived at Shui Mo's room, Uncle Long was about to knock on the door when he heard an angry roar from the room. Go away. Don't disturb me. As soon as he finished shouting, the door of the room opened with a whoosh. Then Uncle Long and the man saw a man fly out from inside. To be precise, he was thrown out. And this person was none other than Feng Yi, who had nothing to do all day. Thanks, Feng Yi was thrown out of the room in an extremely embarrassing position and landed in front of the man. Seeing a pair of feet suddenly appear in front of him, Feng Yi subconsciously raised his head. Then his expression changed and he stood up from the ground with a whoosh. He roared. Ice Cube, why are you here? How detestable. This was so embarrassing. Feng Yi was very depressed. It was fine if someone saw his embarrassing state, but the person who saw it was his archenemy, which was something he couldn't accept. I'm not called Ice Cube, please call me Ice Cloud, sire. The man said in all seriousness. Bah, why should I call you your excellency? We all have the same status in the clan. Feng Yi shouted. Oh right, I forgot to tell you. Since last month, I've been appointed as the clan's chief steward. So in terms of emotion and reason, I'm your immediate superior. You should call me your excellency. Bing Yun said with a faint smile. How is this possible? When Feng Yi heard this bad news, he couldn't help but say with a pale face. Nothing is impossible. You'll have a chance to. However, you'll have to wait until I become an elder in the clan. Bing Yun smiled and consoled him. Then he seemed to have thought of something. Look at my memory. How could I have forgotten? In the future, you will be a certain cat's servant. I'm afraid you won't have the chance to serve the Qilin race anymore. My condolences. Your head. Feng Yi's face was filled with grief and indignation. He was so angry that he even cursed Bing Xiao. This despicable guy betrayed him. How could he tell his family about this? How was he going to be a Qilin in the future? Feng Yi felt that he was too embarrassed to face anyone. Sob. He had to try his best to draw circles to stop and curse them. You're angry from embarrassment? By the way, your free-fall posture just now was very good. It's obvious that you've practiced. Bing Yun did not care about Feng Yi's anger and continued to provoke him. As for Feng Yi at this moment, his entire body was immersed in the anger and pain of being betrayed by Bing Xiao. He did not have the mood to respond to Bing Yun's words at all. Uncle Long watched the two Qilins bicker and mumbled to himself. It seems that even within the united race, there are still some seeds of discord. However, this was normal. After all, where there were humans and beasts, there would always be trouble, not to mention that it was a race with such a long history. However, the tactful Uncle Long clearly did not intend to get involved in the battle between the two Qilins. Therefore, after greeting Bing Yun and Feng Yi, he retreated with self-awareness. The moment Uncle Long left, Bing Yun immediately kicked Feng Yi's butt, who was completely immersed in his own thoughts and exuded a faint sorrow. He even said with a look of disdain, "Look at your disgraceful appearance. How could our Qilin clan have such a stupid fellow like you?" Bing Yun had an expression of disappointment. Feng Yi suddenly came back to his senses and roared even more angrily. "What about me? How am I stupid? You think you're the only smart one? You're smarter than a fox, okay?" After roaring, Feng Yi no longer wanted to pay attention to Bing Yun. He turned his back to him and sat down on the stone chair in the courtyard, continuing to exude his sorrowful aura. Bing Yun was speechless. Not seeing him for several days, this guy's temper had grown. Sighing lightly, Bing Yun controlled his temper and walked behind Feng Yi. He nudged him and said, "Hey, let me ask you, how long has Lung Ruoxua been in closed-door cultivation? Why should I tell you?" Feng Yi turned his head and replied angrily, "Don't you want to return to the Qilin clan? To tell you the truth, I'm here today to invite Lung Ruoxua to the Qilin clan as a guest. Once she's there, you can go back with her, right?" Bing Yun reminded. "So what if I go back? I can't do anything right now." Feng Yi seemed even sadder when he heard this. In fact, it didn't matter to him whether he went back or not. In this place he could eat well, live well, and eat well. He had long gotten along with everyone. During this period of time, he had been free and unfettered. So if he really had to live here for the rest of his life, he didn't mind. In addition, to be honest, this place was really not bad. The only bad thing was that every time he went to see the old ancestor would find him annoying and kick him out of the room. Chapter 2738. Devil's Forest, 2AI. And this time, he had been seen by his archenemy, which was the biggest source of his sorrow. "If you don't go back, are you really planning to work for a cat for the rest of your life?" Hearing Feng Yi's words that seemed to give up his freedom, Bing Yun asked, "Not giving up. If you're willing to bet, you must accept your loss. What could he do? Unless you can defeat that cat and redeem me." Feng Yi said with anticipation. After saying this, he really cheered for his own idea. Hee. How could he be so smart? If Bing Yun also lost to that cat, wouldn't no one in the clan dare to laugh at him? The more he thought about it, the more he felt that his idea was simply too great. If he didn't have to hide his excitement, Feng Yi would have jumped up and cheered. But would Bing Yun fall for his trick? He only heard Bing Yun say with a serious look, "I can't agree to this matter so easily. What if I lose my freedom like you? Fortunately, you lost to a cat. If you had lost to a human, you would have become his contracted beast. So this was really a blessing in misfortune. You should be content." Seeing that his rival did not take the bait, Feng Yi was not angry. Anyway, this guy had always been more cunning than him. It was not easy to trick him once. So he stood up and walked out of the yard. Wait, you haven't told me how long Lung Ruoxia has been in closed-door cultivation. Seeing that Feng Yi was about to leave, Bingyan quickly called out to him. However, Feng Yi didn't even turn his head, only his voice was heard. If you don't think of a way to save me, don't even think of me telling you about Lung Ruoxia. Bingyan didn't expect Feng Yi to throw such a tantrum. This was really... He was speechless. Seeing that Feng Yi's back was out of sight, he could only leave Shui Mo's residence and go to find Uncle Long. When Uncle Long saw that Bingyan had come to find him, he didn't ask how his discussion with Feng Yi went and directly arranged a place for him to stay. At Bingyan's request, his residence was arranged to be next to Feng Yi's. When Feng Yi found out about this, he immediately protested against living with this guy. Uncle Long ignored Feng Yi's words and quickly left the two Qilins' territory. Out of sight, out of mind. As for how much trouble the two Qilins could cause, it was their business. After all, they had to compensate for the things they had destroyed. Therefore, he was not worried at all. After watching Uncle Long leave, the two Qilins stared at each other. And their residence was as lively as Uncle Long had imagined every day. However, no matter how much they fought, they didn't dare to break anything here. Otherwise, they really couldn't afford to pay. Time passed. In the blink of an eye, Bingyan had also lived here for several months. However, after waiting for so long, Lung Ruoxia still had not come out of her closed-door cultivation. Bingyan truly could not wait any longer. Even if he had good food, good accommodation, and people to fight with him every day. However, thinking that the clan was still waiting for old ancestor to return, Bingyan felt as if grass had grown in her heart, unable to sit still. Finding Uncle Long, Bingyan asked directly, "How much longer until Lung Ruoxia comes out of her closed-door cultivation?" "Thanks, it should be soon." Uncle Long replied after some thought. In reality, Shui had not been in closed-door cultivation at all. That girl had always been in the spatial space refining pills and forging weapons with Chief Elder and the others. He had also told Shui Bingyan's intentions for coming. However, after talking about Bingyan's anxiousness before, Shui thought the same as him. The Qilin clan was so anxious, there was probably some hidden story. This way, both he and Shui were not in a hurry to go to the Qilin clan. However, after observing for a few months, Uncle Long felt that the Qilin clan must have sent an invitation to Shui because they wanted to use Shui's name to trick their ancestor into going back. Otherwise, if this continued, the Qilin clan's ancestor might really end up growing up here. It was precisely because he had seen through the intentions of the Qilin clan that Uncle Long didn't use Shui's seclusion as an excuse. More importantly, they had delayed for so long, and it was indeed time for them to head to the Qilin clan. After all, this was a rare opportunity. That's great, but I don't know how long it'll take. The moment Bingyan heard, he clearly heaved a sigh of relief. But in reality, he really wanted to cry. It really wasn't easy for him to have been looking forward to this. 5 days later, Lung Ruoxia had come out of her closed-door cultivation openly. When Bingyan saw the famous Lung Ruoxia, he almost burst into tears. This little ancestor had finally come out. Subs. It seemed like the heavens were still kind to him. Otherwise, if Lung Ruoxia were to go into closed-door cultivation for a few hundred or 1,000 years, he would have to wait until he was a daylily. However, when Lung Ruoxia saw Bingyan's teary eyes, she was shocked. Ugh! Did it have to be so exaggerated? Bingyan's first words upon seeing Lung Ruoxia was not a self-introduction, but instead, "Come with me." As expected, Lung Ruoxia's face turned pale from fright. Did the Qilin clan always do things in such a bold manner? You want to snatch someone in broad daylight? After 3 seconds of silence, Lung Ruoxia pretended to be calm and said, "Bingyan, don't be anxious. We have to pack our things before we can head to the Qilin clan. What's there to clean up? You can just follow me. I've been waiting for you for so long, and the clan has also been waiting for several months. Everyone is anxious to see you." Bingyan grumbled. As he spoke, his resentful eyes were still wandering around Lung Ruoxia's body. "I have to prepare some gifts." I can't go to the Qilin clan empty-handed, Lung Ruoxua said helplessly. She had long heard from Uncle Long that the Qilin clan's Bing Yun was an impatient person. At that time, she was still thinking about how anxious she would be. Now she finally experienced it. This really wasn't an ordinary kind of anxiousness. No need. Bing Yun only reacted fiercely after he rejected her. Then he asked with his eyes wide open. You said prepare a gift? To the Qilin clan? Yes, I am. Lung Ruoxua smiled and nodded. Actually, there's no need to specially prepare anything. Just bring some of your medicinal pills, fruits, and the like. Bing Yun gave his opinion. All right. Since Mr. Hailcloud has such a request, I will naturally satisfy it. However, there should be quite a number of people from the Qilin clan. How many should I prepare? Lung Ruoxua probed. 100 will do. Bing Yun said directly. Even if it's 100 portions, it'll take 2 to 3 days to prepare. Shall we leave the day after tomorrow? Lung Ruoxua asked again. Then. All right. Bing Yun was a little unwilling, but he changed his mind. They were preparing gifts for the Qilin clan. It wouldn't be good if they didn't give them enough time. In any case, they had already waited for several months, so it wouldn't make a difference of 2 or 3 days. Then he couldn't help but add, Miss Lung, please tell old Grand Madam about this. Don't you know Sir Shui Mo? Lung Ruoxua blinked her eyes and asked in disbelief. She was truly suspicious of what this Qilin had been doing for the past few months. Senior Shui Mo didn't even know about this small matter. Chapter 2739, Devil's Forest 3. The old ancestor didn't even give me a chance to speak. Bing Yun said with a face full of hidden bitterness. Every time he met the old ancestor would despise him for wasting his time, and then he would receive the same treatment as Feng Yi. He had been here for a few months, so he and Feng Yi didn't have to laugh at each other. I got it, Lung Ruoxua said with some sympathy. Miss Lung, please persuade old Grand Madam to return with us. Bing Yun begged. I'll try. Lung Ruoxua replied helplessly. In reality, she felt that Bing Yun had thought too highly of herself. Even the people of the Qilin clan could not move Shui Mo. What use would an outsider like her have? However, to her surprise, when she went to see Shui Mo and told him that she was going to the Qilin clan 2 days later, Shui Mo said that he would go with her without her asking. When Lung Ruoxua heard Shui Mo's words, she was speechless. I'm obviously going to your house, okay? Why did it become accompanying her back? He wondered if the Qilin clan would cry if they knew that their ancestor had such thoughts about going home. However, she did not let down Binjian's trust and completed the mission. Lung Ruoxua then told Bing Yun the good news. Bing Yun was so touched that she was about to cry again. Seeing how excited the other party was, she didn't even dare to tell Bing Yun. Your family's old ancestor said that he'll accompany me. The 3 days that Bing Yun had been looking forward to had finally come. He had gone to the living room early in the morning to wait for Lung Ruoxua and the rest to gather and set off. 2 days ago, when the master of the Ning family and the rest found out that they had a chance to go to the Qilin clan, they were all very interested in going with them to broaden their horizons. However, the few reverent god-level experts definitely could not all go. In the end, after a long period of research, Lung Ruoxua's side finally sent out a suitable candidate. For this trip to the Qilin clan, Lung Ruoxua only brought Uncle Long and her godfather. Among the beasts, only baby Mei Yenyu and Ling were with her. This time, she didn't even bring Azure. Apart from staying at home to keep watch, Azure had also been teaching the blood lotus flower how to control its aura, so it naturally couldn't leave at will. Apart from Uncle Long, Godfather and the 5 little beasts, Shui Mo and Feng Yi would also go back. Without Song's group, everyone's speed of travel was naturally much slower. Moreover, the Qilin race was located in a large canyon at the southernmost part of the Immortal Realm. Its geographical location was relatively remote and was surrounded by mountains. There were also many forests that acted as barriers, blocking the traffic between the outside world and the large canyon. Therefore, when they were near the Great Canyon, their speed would be even slower. Of course, these were all told to Lung Ruoxua by the 3 Qilins. When they arrived at the forest that led to the entrance of the Grand Canyon, Lung Ruoxue realized that the other party's words were not exaggerated at all. In fact, they were reserved. As she looked at the huge tree that towered into the clouds, Lung Ruoxue felt that no words could beat the fact that it was right in front of her. Originally, Lung Ruoxue had suggested to fly over, but her suggestion was unanimously despised by the three Qilins. In the words of the Qilins, don't think about saving time for everything. To them, passing through such a forest is also a way of cultivation training. Therefore they couldn't fly. Otherwise, you would be looked down upon by the Qilin race, even if you were an invited guest. Since the other party had already said so, Lung Ruoxue naturally could only do as the host pleased. After that, she followed the three Qilins into the forest that was filled with giant trees. Uncle Long and Master Ning chose to bring up the rear. As they walked into the forest, Lung Ruoxue and the rest, who had never been here before, were shocked to realize that the forest was much bigger than they had imagined. Little girl, this is the legendary Devil Forest. As they walked, Shui Mo suddenly turned around and said, Devil's Forest? Lung Ruoxue's beautiful face was filled with question marks. Shui, this place is called the Devil Forest because the weather here has always been unpredictable. The master of the Ning family, who knew the meaning of the Devil Forest, explained. However, Lung Ruoxue clearly didn't understand. She still looked at her godfather shamelessly. It's clear sky now, right? Maybe the weather will change in a while. The master of the Ning family explained. As soon as he finished speaking, as if in response to his words, the cloudless sky suddenly became covered with dark clouds. The sky also instantly darkened, accompanied by rumbling thunder and lightning. In the blink of an eye, it was as if a hole had been opened in the sky, and a storm was about to fall. Lung Ruoxue finally experienced the unpredictable weather in the Devil's Forest. Is it going to rain? Let's take shelter from the rain. Lung Ruoxue suggested when she noticed that the weather was bad. However, Shui Mo and the other two Qilins objected and said, Don't worry, it won't rain. It never rains in the Devil Forest. It's not raining. Lung Ruoxue was speechless. If it didn't rain in this damned weather, why would they use knives? Thanks, be careful, everyone. Suddenly, Shui Mo reminded them loudly and the three of them transformed into their true forms. In an instant, three mighty and domineering Qilins appeared in front of Lung Ruoxue's group of 3 humans and 5 beasts. There were 3 Qilins. One was water blue, one was green, and one was ice blue. After transforming into their true forms, the 3 behemoths were exactly the same, except for their different colors. Their bodies were covered with scales, and long hair hung from the gaps between the scales to the ground, making them look even more powerful and beautiful. However, this way, it would be difficult for Lung Ruoxue to distinguish who was who. Even though it was very difficult to distinguish the 3 Qilins, the green Qilin still laughed evilly and deliberately lowered its voice. Guess who we are? Lung Ruoxue broke out in cold sweat. How was she supposed to guess? They all looked the same, other than the difference in color. Lung Ruoxue closed her beautiful eyes and opened them again. She pointed at the green Qilin with certainty and said, You're definitely Feng Yi. How did you know? Feng Yi's eyes widened in disbelief as he asked in a daze. Because other than you, Senior Shui Mo and Ice Cloud wouldn't be so bored. Lung Ruoxue said matter-of-factly. Hearing her words, Feng Yi was completely depressed. Boo! That bad girl's words were a huge blow to Qilin. Shui Mo and Bingyan couldn't help but laugh. After he was done laughing, Shui Mo reminded him. Little girl, you must be careful. This place is going to be dangerous soon. And, even though Shui Mo did not say it explicitly, Lung Ruoxue still nodded her head seriously. Not long after, when the forest was completely dark, Lung Ruoxue and the rest suddenly noticed a fire flickering in the distance. They're here. Shui Mo reminded. When Lung Ruoxue, Uncle Long, and the master of the Ning family heard this, they immediately took out their weapons and entered a combat state. The 5 little beasts also rubbed their fists and wiped their palms, ready to have a good fight with the dangers in the Devil Forest. As the firelight slowly approached, Lung Ruoxue suddenly realized that these were not firelight at all, but countless fireflies. Perhaps they could not be called fireflies, because these small insects were not only much bigger than fireflies, but also not as cute as fireflies. More importantly, these crustacean-type bugs that were the size of an adult's fist and had flames burning on their bodies were not only aggressive, but they also looked even fiercer. Lung Ruoxue could even hear the sound of them grinding their teeth. However, at this moment it seemed like she didn't have the chance to ask what this thing was. Seeing that the other party had a flame, Lung Ruoxue didn't want to be outdone and flashed her own natal flame. The moment her flames appeared, the group of firebugs seemed to instinctively cower. However, the group of bugs did not retreat. Instead, they all flew towards Lung Ruoxue's direction. Shuer, be careful. The master of the Ning family saw that these insects seemed to be more interested in Shuer and couldn't help but remind them worriedly. Godfather, take care of yourselves. Lung Ruoxue replied. Then, her beautiful eyes were fixed on the group of insects that were like moths flying into the fire. As they neared, the orderly group of insects hesitated for a moment before flying towards the flame in Lung Ruoxue's hand. In an instant, the insects had Lung Ruoxue completely surrounded. How did this happen? Shui Mo and the other two Qilins were surprised. These bugs had always been watching them closely, but they had obviously changed their target this time. The insects' unexpected actions had also caused them to lose the best opportunity to help Lung Ruoxue. This made the three gigantic creatures deeply regret their decision. However, the three Qilins still charged towards the fire regardless of the consequences. They tried to disperse the group of insects and save Lung Ruoxue. Arg! It's so hot! As soon as he reached the flames, Fengyi was scared by the extremely high temperature of the flames and retreated. Shui Mo and Bingyan also tried, but they couldn't get close due to the heat. The bug's flames seemed to be especially powerful today. The three Qilins couldn't understand why. However, they had to save Lung Ruoxue. After all, Lung Ruoxue was a guest that they had invited. If she were to die in the Devil Forest, how would the Qilin clan have the face to continue living in the God world? With this in mind, the three Qilins were a little desperate. They were going all out today. However, just as they were about to move again, a little white fox stood in front of them. Little fox, move aside. We're here to save your master. Shui Mo said. Master is fine. Meijin said honestly. How can she be fine? Lung Ruoxue is already surrounded by flames. Don't block it, quickly move away, your master might be gnawed clean by the soul-devouring insects later. Fengyi didn't understand why this snow fox, who had always given people the impression of being very understanding, was suddenly so stubborn today. Wasn't this delaying them from saving people? You bastard! You're the one who'll be gnawed clean by those damn soul-devouring bugs. Even if something happens to you, my master will be fine. Hearing Fengyi's words, Baby Fire shouted. It didn't care what kind of noble Qilin it was. He could not say that his cute master would be in trouble. Chapter 2740. Black-bellied Shui Mo. 1. The treasure's protector made Fengyi so depressed that he was about to cry. That he didn't seem to have said anything too overboard. They only hoped that these little fellows, who cared about their master, would not delay their rescue of Lung Ruoxue, who knew that they would actually provoke them. Fengyi truly felt that he was innocent. Although his words were a little harsh, they were the truth. Why was telling the truth so unlikable these days? The worried Fengyi kept sighing in his heart. At this moment, he suddenly widened his eyes and revealed an expression of disbelief. Oh my God! What did it see? Lung Ruoxue, who was previously surrounded by the flames, was now engulfed in flames. However, in the next instant, the flames that filled the sky were suddenly extinguished. Lung Ruoxue appeared in front of them, safe and sound. The soul-devouring worms that were surrounding her had disappeared without a trace. Where are the bugs? Fengyi was filled with question marks. Shuer, it's good that you're fine. Shui Mo noticed Lung Ruoxue's condition and asked with concern. I'm fine, but those bugs are so powerful. Lung Ruoxue said with lingering fear. If it wasn't for the power of her flames, she would have become the food of those insects. Yup. Those are soul-devouring insects, and they especially like to devour the soul and body of humans or beasts. That's why humans and beasts in the outside world are afraid of the Devil Forest. Except for our Qilin clan, no beasts or humans dare to approach this place. Shui Mo explained. He had taken the initiative to say that he would come back with Lung Ruoxue, because he had considered the power of the soul-devouring insect, and wanted to protect Lung Ruoxue, who knew that this little girl would deal with the insect herself. At this moment, Shui Mo's evaluation of Lung Ruoxue rose even higher. Then Shui Mo thought for a while and said, "Little girl, although these soul-devouring insects are very powerful, they are of utmost importance to our Qilin clan. With them, they are definitely a guarantee for our Qilin clan. Even Wuxia doesn't dare to rashly set foot here because these soul-devouring insects don't have any intelligence and act only on instinct. Any living creature that passed by their territory would be seen as food. As for our Qilin clan, other than viewing them as a barrier, they are also the training targets for the younger generation of our clan. However, the soul-devouring insects are quite ferocious, so we are very careful when arranging for the younger generation to gain experience. As for the adult Qilin, it is already used to the existence of these small insects, but when facing them, we sometimes feel very annoyed, but we can't do it without them." Shui Mo had said all this to explain to Lung Ruoxue the necessity of these insects' existence. It could be said that with these insects, the Qilin clan would be much safer. As for walking through this place, it was more for training. The other important reason was that the Qilin clan also wanted to test Lung Ruoxue's courage. Of course, this reason could not be stated clearly. However, Lung Ruoxue was not stupid. From the vigilance of Shui Mo and the other two Qilins, she knew that these insects were very troublesome. Furthermore, the three of them were determined to walk despite knowing that the insects were very troublesome. This explained the problem. However, Lung Ruoxue believed that the other party had no intention of harming her. It was probably because the other party thought that he could protect her. But from the looks of it now, there must have been an accident. Otherwise, the other party would not have been so surprised when he saw that the insects seemed to be more interested in her. Although she had been surrounded by the bugs, she was still clear about what was happening outside. "Those soul-devouring bugs were killed by my flames. Are you all right?" Lung Ruoxue asked calmly after hearing Shui Mo's words. "Thanks, I'm fine." Hearing this, Shui Mo's mouth twitched uncontrollably. He thought to himself, if those bugs could be killed so easily, they wouldn't have coexisted with the Qilin clan for so many years. He was really curious how Lung Ruoxue did it. However, it felt that Lung Ruoxue had just suffered a shock, so it was better not to ask about this now. However, Fengyi could not wait any longer. It looked at Lung Ruoxue with a face of disbelief. With its mouth half open, it asked, "The soul-devouring insects are really dead? How did you do it? You don't believe me? Why don't you catch me some soul-devouring insects and I'll show you?" Lung Ruoxue said with a smile. "I believe you, all right. Then can you tell me how you killed them?" Fengyi asked, speechless. "He was burned to death by fire." Lung Ruoxue said honestly, but Fengyi the Qilin still didn't believe it. "Fire? Don't joke around. It's not like there aren't fire Qilin in their race, but I've never seen their flames effective on the soul-devouring insects. Otherwise, the soul-devouring insects would not have been able to survive for so long. You don't believe me?" Lung Ruoxue asked with an evil smile when she saw the thoughts on Fengyi's face. Are your flames really that powerful?" Fengyi didn't believe it. This was too unreal. "Do you want to try my flame?" As she spoke, a small and exquisite purple-red flame appeared on Lung Ruoxue's fair and tender fingertips. The dazzling flame made her fingertips look exceptionally beautiful. No need. Fengyi, who could feel the heat of the small flame from far away, felt that he was not that stupid to test the fire with his own body. However, the vengeful baby obviously didn't want to let go of this stupid Kirin who once suspected that its master would be in danger. It smiled evilly and provoked. "Cute master, this Qilin almost ruined your plan. Humph. It actually cursed you to be gnawed clean by the soul-devouring insects and still wanted to save you. It really overestimated its own strength. If we didn't stop it from rushing over, I'm afraid it would have been burned to ashes by now." Lung Ruoxue was silent. It seemed that Feng Ye's words about her being gnawed clean by the soul-devouring bugs had clearly angered the vengeful baby. However, her baby was her little beast, so she naturally had to stand on her baby's side unconditionally. Hence, as soon as her baby finished speaking, her unfriendly eyes landed on Feng Yi. Sob. Feng Yi felt so wrong that he wanted to cry. It clearly had good intentions and wanted to save Lung Ruoxue. How could that detestable little fox say that about it? Curse? You bastard. Who did it curse? Who would curse in front of the person involved? Did they really think it was stupid? However, Lung Ruoxue clearly believed her little beastie's instigations, and this made Feng Yi feel extremely aggrieved. Can you not be like this? This was killing the donkey when the grinding was done. No, he wanted to kill the qilin. You can't do this. I clearly didn't mean it that way. After being wronged for a while, Feng Yi said with obvious lack of confidence. You're cursing my adorable master. The baby still didn't want to let Feng Yi go. Ooh. You can't bully a qilin like this. Seeing that he couldn't get his hands on the treasure, Feng Yi simply wailed. He was crying and rolling on the ground. One must know that this was a new move that it had learned from Lung Ruoxue's beasts. It had used it today, and it had not learned it for nothing. Chapter 2741. Black-bellied Shuemo 2. On the surface, Feng Yi looked like he was crying very sadly, but in his heart, he was very satisfied with his own adaptability. If he had continued to argue with his opponent, he would have definitely lost. Feng Yi was proud of his wit, but his face darkened when he saw Shuemo and Bingyun like this. This was too embarrassing, wasn't it? Do you have to embarrass the Qilin clan like this? Or do you think that you've already become someone else's servant, so you don't need to care about the Qilin race's reputation anymore? Thinking here, Bingyun how ruthlessly kicked Feng Ye's huge body. His foot just happened to land on his butt and sent him flying. Art. Bingyun, you bastard. Following this sentence, a thump was heard as an object landed on the ground and disappeared from Lung Ruoxue and the other's sight. I'm sorry, I've made a fool of myself. Bingyun finished all of this very calmly, then said to Lung Ruoxue and the rest with a smile. Lung Ruoxue was speechless. Uncle Long and the master of the Ning family were starting to pity Feng Yi, that old qilin. In fact, from an outsider's point of view, that old qilin really didn't say anything that was too much. Even though what it said before wasn't pleasant to the ears, it was only because it was worried about that little girl Shuer. More importantly, the qilin didn't know how powerful Shuer's flame was. As the saying goes, one can't blame those who didn't know. So they really felt that the qilin wasn't unforgivable. However, the reality was clear. Shuer was standing on his little beastie's side. As such, they naturally could not help outsiders. After mourning for Feng Yi for 3 minutes, Uncle Long took the initiative to change the topic and asked, now that the soul-devouring insects have been eliminated, can we continue moving forward? And Shuemo nodded. Even though he was surprised that Lung Ruoxue could kill the soul-devouring bugs, there was no need to waste any more time here. However, Feng Yi had not returned yet. If he left now, wouldn't he be left here alone? To be honest, it was a little worried about Feng Ye's carefree personality. However, just as it was thinking this, it heard a weak voice in its ear. Ooh, you guys are really bullying the honest qilin. As soon as he finished speaking, a blue Kirin with a swollen face appeared in front of everyone. Lung Ruoxue and the rest glanced at Feng Ye's new image, and were worried about his low intelligence. Where did she fall? Why is your face so swollen? How did you end up like this? I didn't kick too hard? Bingyun, who was the most surprised, directly asked what everyone was thinking. You didn't kick me hard, but you kicked me into a hornet's nest, woo, Feng Yi roared. After that, he started crying without caring about his image. This time, Bingyun miraculously didn't find it embarrassing. Instead, she looked at Feng Yi, who was crying very sadly, with a face full of guilt, not knowing how to comfort him. Lung Ruoxue and the rest who were watching from the side were all very sympathetic towards Feng Yi. Baby even took the initiative to say out of kindness, how tragic. AI. Seeing that you're already so pitiful, I won't hold it against you for cursing my lovely master. But you have to remember, You can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. Do you know what it means to get into trouble from the mouth? It's referring to your previous appearance. Baby's words were very meaningful, and Fengyi nodded his head repeatedly. However, no one knew if it would remember. However, Fengyi's danger was finally over. After that, everyone continued on their way. On the way, as the host, Bingyun kept consoling Lung Ruoxue, the 3 humans and the 5 beasts. Don't worry, the soul-devouring insects shouldn't appear again. Under normal circumstances, they only appear once a day. However, just as it finished speaking, Lung Ruoxue, the 3 humans, 5 beasts and the 2 Qilins, Shui Mo and Fengyi, heard a buzzing sound from afar. Then, countless flames came closer and surrounded them from all directions. Thanks, it seems like the soul-devouring insects are working overtime today. Lung Ruoxue couldn't help but tease them when she saw how nervous they were. Don't joke around, okay? Bingyun said gloomily. He had just said that the soul-devouring bugs would not appear, and now they had appeared in large numbers all around. Wasn't this a slap to his face? Bingyun was very angry, and the consequences were very serious. An ice-blue Qilin was charging in the direction of the fire with a monstrous rage. When Lung Ruoxue saw this, she couldn't help but worry. It's okay for it to be so impulsive, right? It's alright, we're already used to it. Fengyi said without a care. With regards to its words, Lung Ruoxue truly felt that Fengyi was taking the opportunity to take revenge. Detestable. Your target should be me. Suddenly, Bingyun's furious roar came from afar. Everyone did not know what was going on. They looked up and suddenly realized that those soul-devouring bugs that usually like Qilin had actually passed by Bingyun's side at this moment, and were flying in their direction. What's going on? Why didn't that ice block even attract a single soul-devouring bug? The soaring flames made Fengyi, who was in disbelief, feel a little confused. This didn't make sense. It shouldn't be like this. Little girl, they seem to be coming for you. Shui Mo, who felt that something was wrong, couldn't help but remind him. Yes, it's very likely that he's here to take revenge on me. Lung Ruoxue replied calmly. After some thought, she asked, Senior Shui Mo, if I accidentally destroy your barrier and your opponent, your Qilin race won't blame me, right? Shui Mo couldn't help but wipe the cold sweat off his forehead and said, It's more important to save your life. In fact, it really wanted to say that the soul-devouring insects could not be exterminated because these insects had a very short lifespan. Even if they did not kill the soul-devouring insects, when the time was up, these small insects would still die, and new soul-devouring insects would be born in the Devil's Forest at that time. This was also the privilege that nature had given to the Devil's Forest. However, Shui Mo didn't dare to tell Lung Ruoxue this. He was afraid that it would be his fault if he caused Lung Ruoxue too much pressure. However, Lung Ruoxue had nothing to worry about since Shui Mo's life was more important. Godfather, Uncle Long and my baby, stay away from me and protect yourselves. Lung Ruoxue ordered. When Uncle Long, Master Ning, and the 5 little beasts heard Lung Ruoxue's words, they tactfully distanced themselves from her, and pulled away the 2 Qilins that wanted to help. Shui Mo did not have any objections to this because he clearly realized that Lung Ruoxue was more powerful than he had imagined. However, Fengyi was not tactful and thought that they were not loyal. How can you do this? We're partners. Fengyi shouted. Shut up. Don't cause any trouble for my cute master. Treasure was furious and couldn't take it anymore. Chapter 2742. Black-bellied Shui Mo 3. Fengyi felt wronged and mumbled. How can you say that I'm causing trouble? I only wanted to help. It hurts my self-esteem. Fengyi truly felt that he had never been so despised in his long life. But now, in front of Lung Ruoxue and the others, he obviously had no status. This fact made him so sad that he wished he could buy a piece of tofu and knock his head on it. However, it was obvious that no human or beast cared about what it thought. Treasure was even more direct and said in an unpleasant tone. If you help, you'll only be causing trouble for my master, so just stay here. Don't get in the way. Baby's disdainful eyes and tone made Fengyi so depressed that he couldn't refute. Shui Mo looked at him sympathetically but didn't say anything. It didn't want people to think that it was on the same level as Feng Yi, as that would lower its intelligence. At this moment, Bing Yun, who had been chasing after the flames, also came back dejectedly. Glancing at Leng Ruoxue, who was already surrounded by flames, Bing Yun wanted to help her for a moment. However, when he saw that the other humans and beasts were watching from the side, he gave up. Wu. It was obvious that Leng Ruoxue had a way to deal with those insects. Furthermore, her methods were rather brutal and intense. It was definitely not on the same level as his gentle methods. Yes. Compared to Leng Ruoxue, Bing Yun truly felt that his attack methods were too gentle. It was just that he could not understand why those bugs were like moths to a flame, targeting Leng Ruoxue. It could tell that the soul-devouring insects were still afraid of Leng Ruoxue's flames. However, they still charged forward without a care. This left it puzzled no matter how much it thought about it. Not long after, the huge number of soul-devouring insects were burned into dust by Leng Ruoxue's powerful flames and dissipated into the air. As for Leng Ruoxue, she was still safe and sound. This scene caused Feng Yi to widen his eyes helplessly. This was too unscientific. The soul-devouring insects that they had a hard time dealing with had become so fragile in front of Leng Ruoxue. They were even burned to ashes like trash. What kind of flame was this? How could he be so powerful? Was he seeing things? Feng Yi rubbed his eyes hard. The soul-devouring bugs were really gone. Let's continue. Ignoring Feng Yi's shocked expression, Leng Ruoxue said calmly. Shui Emo nodded and asked as they walked. Little girl, is that your life flame? Yes, I am. Leng Ruoxue replied honestly. It's really powerful. I'm afraid even the Phoenix tribe's southern spirit Li Fire can't compare. Shui Emo said. Of course I can't. Before Leng Ruoxue could reply, Darling spoke with a sense of pride. Baby, we have to be humble. Even if you can't compare to us, you can't say it so directly, understand? I have to find a chance to prove it. Leng Ruoxue said in all seriousness. I know, cute master. Baby was very obedient and said. Hearing the conversation between the two master beasts, even the calm Shui Emo was speechless. To be humble? He still had to find an opportunity to prove it? Didn't that mean that they were going to cause trouble for the Feng clan? AI. The poor Phoenix clan. Why did he provoke this little girl? Shui Emo felt sorry for the Phoenix King in his heart. He felt sorry for them, but he had no intention of interfering in the conflict between Leng Ruoxue and the Phoenix clan. It was none of the Qilin clan's business anyway. If the Phoenix clan wanted to die, they could just go ahead. Although they were all the four king beasts and the Qilin clan had been cultivating for the past 10,000 years, Shui Emo knew everything about Leng Ruoxue and the conflict between her and the other three king beasts. However, her status as Master Yes disciple was enough for Shui Emo to stand on her side. With this thought, Shui Emo naturally found Leng Ruoxue pleasing to the eye. He started to look down on the other three families who were also part of the four great beast kings. Everyone continued to walk forward. After walking for who knows how long, Bing Yun suddenly opened his mouth and said, After this, we'll be out of the Devil Forest. Woo, this was great. The Devil Forest was such a ghostly place that hurt its pride. It didn't want to stay a moment longer. Did you hear something? Just as Bing Yun's words fell, Leng Ruoxue asked again. Thanks, no I didn't. What's wrong? Bing Yun blinked his eyes in surprise, his face blank and ignorant. I think I heard the sound of ghosts wailing and wolves howling. Leng Ruoxue said calmly. You bastard. That's the wailing of ghosts and the howling of wolves. At this time, an angry roar sounded in everyone's ears. The group of people immediately raised their vigilance and observed their surroundings. Who is it? Get out here. Don't play tricks. Leng Ruoxue shouted. Humph. Come out then. Do you think I'm afraid of you? As soon as he finished speaking, a huge object covered the sky and pounced towards Leng Ruoxue and the others. Everyone quickly dodged and focused their eyes to take a look. It was actually a huge bug that was shining with golden light and burning with flames. It was similar to the soul-devouring bug that Leng Ruoxue had killed previously. However, this was an enlarged version. Its color and strength were also very different from the previous soul-devouring bug. This one's strength was obviously much stronger. You're a soul-devouring insect. Lung Ruoxua asked as she looked at the ferocious and unfriendly giant insect. What kind of eyesight do you have? How can I be a soul-devouring insect? I'm clearly the king of soul-devouring insects. The king of soul-devouring insects, who had been lowered in status, roared in anger. When Lung Ruoxua heard this, she couldn't help but roll her eyes. She thought to herself, isn't this the same? Is there a difference? They were all bugs anyway. As for the king of soul-devouring insects that Lung Ruoxua had identified as a soul-devouring insect, even though it did not know how to read minds, it could tell that this detestable woman did not think much of its identity. This fact made it even angrier, and the flames on its body grew even higher. Following that, it continued to roar. Despicable human, you killed so many of my descendants. I won't let you off. You're all dead. So all the soul-devouring insects here were born by you? Lung Ruoxua came to a sudden realization. Then she continued to say nonchalantly, since you are so good at giving birth, just keep giving birth. I didn't kill you anyway. However, it's not good to give birth to too many insects, so I sincerely suggest that you don't give birth anymore. Keeping your life is the best way. As for revenge, don't even think about it. When the king of soul-devouring insects heard this, it couldn't control the anger in its heart. Then everyone heard it roar angrily. You bastard! Is it something I can control? You're quite a busybody. I think you'd better think about how to be safe. I, the powerful king of soul-devouring insects, will absolutely not let you off. Humans, get ready to receive my attack. Do you really want to fight? Lung Ruoxua asked indifferently. Of course. We must fight. The king of soul-devouring insects roared. Are you sure you're the king of soul-devouring insects? And not just growing a little bigger? Shui Mo, who had been watching coldly, suddenly asked curiously. Qilin Yu, what do you mean by this? The king of soul-devouring insects was unhappy that the Qilin doubted its identity. However, after being friendly with the Qilin for so long, it did not want to be an enemy of the Qilin. Therefore, it spoke to Shui Mo in a polite tone, but it was still fierce to a human like Lung Ruoxua. I've lived for so many years, but I've never heard of the existence of the king of soul-devouring insects. And as far as I know, the soul-devouring insects in Devil's Forest are all bred by Devil's Forest, so you're not the king of soul-devouring insects. You're just too fat, so you mistakenly think you're the king of soul-devouring insects. Shui Mo said with certainty, looking as if he had been tricked. When Lung Ruoxua heard this, she laughed in her heart. She did not expect Shui Mo to have such a black-bellied side. From the way he was so natural when he was a black bug, it was obvious that this was not the first time he had done something like this. This was beyond Lung Ruoxia's expectations. It was obvious that Shui Mo was more energetic and cute like this. However, the king of soul-devouring insects did not find Shui Mo cute at all. It truly felt that this old Qilin was extremely annoying. He actually called it fat, and even suspected that it wasn't the king of soul-devouring insects. You bastard! Who else could it be? How am I not the king of soul-devouring insects? I'm the appointed king of soul-devouring insects in the Devil Forest. After a long time, the king of soul-devouring insects roared in anger, its trembling body fully showing the anger in its heart. Does the Devil's Forest have consciousness? How could they appoint you? When Lung Ruoxua heard this, she also raised her own doubts. Shui Mo nodded in agreement. On this point, it had the same thoughts as Lung Ruoxua. Can't you just accept my fate just because I have no consciousness? This insect was born to be the king of soul-devouring insects. This is inborn. Do you understand? The king of soul-devouring insects shuddered and roared. Unfortunately, no matter how angry it was, Lung Ruoxua and Shui Mo didn't believe its words. The human and Qilin even looked at each other with tacit understanding and smiled. The two of them reached an agreement in an instant. If this king of soul-devouring insects knew its own limitations, then he would not kill it. After all, the Qilin race needed the existence of soul-devouring insects. However, if this insect was insistent on doing things its own way, then he could only apologize. After making the decision, Shuemo smiled and said to the king of soul-devouring insects, "Little bug, seeing that it's not easy for you to cultivate, we're willing to let you live. It's up to you to see if you can grasp it. What do you think?" "I don't think so." The king of soul-devouring insects was furious. What was the meaning of this? The other party was clearly looking down on him. Chapter 2743. The Qilin clan won. It had to be said that the king of soul-devouring insects was the truth. The king of soul-devouring insects, who had realized the truth, charged towards Lung Ruoxue with an unprecedented rage. Lung Ruoxue calmly raised her eyes and kicked the king of soul-devouring insects that was flying towards her. Her entire set of movements was smooth and natural. The king of soul-devouring insects, who was not mentally prepared and had intended to show off its might to Lung Ruoxue, was sent flying with a kick from Lung Ruoxue. It received the same treatment as Feng Yi. With a bang, a loud sound came from afar. The forest and earth trembled because of the loud sound. Feng Yi, who clearly felt it, could not help but cover his face. Could he say that he sincerely hoped that the king of soul-devouring insects would be kicked into the hornet's nest like him? However, the king of soul-devouring insects' treatment was obviously worse than its own. This was because the king of soul-devouring insects that was kicked did not appear for a long time after it was sent flying. Of course, Lung Ruoxue and the rest did not deliberately wait for it to appear. After kicking the other party away, the group of people continued to walk forward in a natural manner. It was only when they were almost out of the devil forest that the huge king of soul-devouring insects dragged its injured body and crawled behind them. The pitiful king of soul-devouring bugs even roared out with a face of grief and indignation. "Detestable! You're really too hateful to actually treat this insect like this. The bug king, will not let you off." At first, the king of soul-devouring insects felt that its roar was very imposing, but Lung Ruoxue had only turned her head slightly and her beautiful eyes had swept over it lightly. It immediately revealed a pitiful little wife-like smile, and stood rooted to the ground, not daring to move. "Little bug, how are you going to not let us go?" Lung Ruoxue asked with a smile. The king of soul-devouring insects stammered. It could not answer. Although it instinctively felt that the human in front of it was very scary, her flames were very attractive to it, causing it to want to pounce on her, but after pouncing once and being kicked away, it was a little timid. Compared to those soul-devouring insects that had no intelligence and only acted on instinct, as a king, it was obviously much more intelligent and sensible. But now it was at a loss and helpless. What should it do? The king of soul-devouring insects thought hard, frowning in worry. However, Lung Ruoxue didn't have the time to just stand there and wait. After giving everyone a look, they decided to continue moving forward. Seeing that they were about to leave, the king of soul-devouring insects ignored its fear and dragged its injured body to block Lung Ruoxue and the others. It shouted, You can't leave." "Little bug, what do you want? We asked but you didn't answer. We left but you didn't let us. What are you trying to do? Or do you still want to fight? I'd advise you not to, because you're going to lose for sure." Lung Ruoxue helplessly reminded him. The king of soul-devouring insects did not know what it wanted to do, but it knew that it could not let them leave just like that. Otherwise, what prestige would it have left? But it wouldn't let him, all right? Lung Ruoxue laughed lightly before saying, "You're quite an interesting little insect. You won't let us leave, yet you don't know what you want to do. I advise you to think about it before coming to me. I'll be a guest at the Qilin clan. If you've decided, you can find me there." With that, Lung Ruoxue gave Shuemo a look and the group walked past the soul-devouring insect king, who was obviously in a bad state. Under its gaze, they left the demon forest. After Lung Ruoxue and the rest left, the king of soul-devouring insects could not take the blow and finally burst into tears. Why is it so useless? It was not worthy of its title as the king of soul-devouring insects. It was a pity that Lung Ruoxue and the others could not see its regret and sadness. Thanks, the king of soul-devouring insects didn't think it was that bold. If there were only a few Qilin, it would be willing to play with them, but in the Qilin's nest it was better not to. With this thought, the king of soul-devouring insects retreated back into the forest. At the same time, Lung Ruoxue and the rest were not far from the Qilin clan's territory. Of course, Feng Yi was the one who said that. Lung Ruoxue was obviously suspicious of Feng Ye's words. The facts proved that Feng Ye's words were indeed watered down. After walking for half a day, they still had not reached the territory that Feng Yi had mentioned. Lung Ruoxue was a little angry. She glared at Feng Yi and questioned. Feng Yi, didn't you say that the territory of the Qilin clan is not far away? Why aren't they here yet? It's not far. But you guys are walking too slowly, so we had no choice but to slow down our own pace to accompany you, AI. Feng Yi explained. After he was done, he sighed heavily. His eyes subconsciously swept towards Lung Ruoxue's legs. He felt sick in his heart. She wanted to walk fast with such short, thin, and small legs? Was that even possible? It was impossible for Feng Ye's peculiar gaze to not attract Lung Ruoxue's attention. Lung Ruoxue followed its gaze, and realized that it was focused on her leg. Then, she unconsciously glanced at Feng Ye's leg. When she compared the two, she was furious. You bastard! The other party was really despising her again. It was no wonder that she was said to be walking slowly. Compared to the other party's thick legs, Lung Ruoxue realized that she was really small, and she was indeed not as tall as Feng Ye's leg. Uncle can endure it, but Aunt can't. When the furious Lung Ruoxue discovered this depressing fact, she did not hold back and kicked Feng Ye's butt. Feng Yi was not prepared at all, and was kicked right in the face. However, Lung Ruoxue did not use much strength, but Feng Yi still felt wronged. Frowning, Feng Yi said with a choked voice, Schwer, how could you kick my ass? Oh, only my woman can kick around here. Oh really? What about it? Lung Ruoxue sneered as she pointed at Bingyan. Bingyan's face darkened, and he raised his front leg, wanting to hit him again. Feng Sun trembled, cowering without a backbone. It's an exception. Since it can be an exception, I believe I can too. Lung Ruoxue waved her fist as a warning, then revealed her own purple-red flame. Instantly, Feng Yi burst into tears. Wu, how could he bully the honest Qilin like this? Don't be so shameless, alright? Feng Yi was very worried. He really felt that it was not good to bully others with his fists, especially when he was the one being bullied. He felt even worse. More importantly, it did not dare to resist Lung Ruoxue. Before leaving Demon City, the little kitten had personally called it to the side, and warned it to take good care of Lung Ruoxue. If Lung Ruoxue lost even a single strand of hair, it would be held responsible. It was precisely because of this that it could only swallow its anger. AI. In the entire divine realm, there probably wouldn't be a Qilin that was more unlucky and miserable than it, right? Unfortunately, the people in front of it, be it humans or beasts, were not to be trifled with and could not be trifled with. Chapter 2744. The Qilin clan too. Feng Yi sighed and sobbed. You're an exception too. Alright. This is more like it. Lung Ruoxue nodded her head in satisfaction. Then she gave him another kick and roared. Continue to lead the way. Don't use your legs to compete with ours. I know. Feng Yi replied like a wronged wife and walked slowly in front of the group. A few hours later, Feng Yi finally heaved a sigh of relief and said, We've arrived at the territory of the Qilin clan. Where are you? Lung Ruoxue's beautiful eyes scanned her surroundings. She clearly felt that Feng Yi was toying with her. There were mountains on three sides in front of them, and a cliff was right in front of them. How did this look like the territory of the Qilin clan? Just go down. As expected, Feng Yi pointed at the cliff. Lung Ruoxue broke out in a cold sweat. Although it wasn't like she had never descended to the bottom of a cliff before. The cliff in front of her was obviously much larger, and deeper than the one she had seen before. As they approached the edge of the cliff, the cold wind rustled, and it was pitch black inside. Lung Ruoxue truly didn't like a place like this. She didn't expect the Qilin clan to live at the bottom of the cliff. No wonder he was so mysterious. And this cliff, without the strength of a divine emperor, or even a hierarch, one could forget about going down safely. More importantly, even if he managed to get down safely, The Qilin clan would probably treat him as an uninvited enemy and attack him fiercely. Leng Ruoxue couldn't help but shiver at the thought of the consequences. The result would be too terrifying, wouldn't it? As if he could read Leng Ruoxue's mind, Feng Yi provoked her. What, are you afraid? Which eye of yours can tell that I'm afraid? Leng Ruoxue gave a faint smile, and then kicked Feng Yi unceremoniously. Feng Yi, who was just in the middle of showing off, did not expect Leng Ruoxue to suddenly attack him. He lost his balance and fell straight down the cliff. Feng Yi's angry voice resounded from the cliff. When Leng Ruoxue heard it, she looked at Shui Mo and Bing Yun, who did not have any reaction, and said, "Let's go down too." "All right." The two Qilins nodded their heads blankly and prayed for Feng Yi in their hearts. They hoped that his ugly behavior would not be known by the entire Qilin clan. Otherwise he would lose a lot of face. They watched as Leng Ruoxue picked up her 5 little beasts and followed Feng Yi down the cliff. The two Qilins then looked at Uncle Long and Master Ning. The two of them sighed silently. Why did it feel like suicide? However, the two of them still jumped in. Finally, it was Shui Mo and Bing Yun's turn. After jumping off the cliff, everyone had already adjusted their conditions and floated down slowly with the help of the wind. As they descended, Leng Ruoxue and the rest could clearly feel the cold. Not only that, but the bottom of the cliff was very deep. After floating for about half an hour, they landed safely. The scenery at the bottom of the cliff instantly opened everyone's eyes. Thanks, it could be said that from the top of the cliff to the middle of the cliff, the temperature was always very low. However, when they reached the bottom of the cliff, it was like spring all year round, with flowers in full bloom and all living things recovering. What do you think? Our place is not bad, right? Seeing everyone's surprise, Bing Yun could not help but ask with pride. It's beautiful, provided that the fool isn't hanging from the tree. Leng Ruoxue laughed evilly. It wasn't that she didn't want to give face to the Qilin clan, but Feng Yi's current appearance was simply too funny. Feng Yi, who had been kicked off the cliff earlier than them, clearly did not adjust his landing position, and fell onto a tree. Actually, even if it had fallen onto a tree, it wouldn't have been a big deal. But what was strange about Feng Sun was that he was actually hanging upside down. I really don't know what it's doing. Leng Ruoxue was extremely surprised, while Bing Yun was burning with anger. Damn it. The Qilin clan's face had been completely thrown away by Feng Yi. At this time Feng Yi, who clearly did not feel that he was embarrassed, even waved at Bing Yun in a friendly manner and reminded loudly, "I'm here, put me down." When Bing Yun heard that, she immediately turned her head, pretending not to know the other party. Seeing this, Leng Ruoxue pointed at Feng Yi and reminded, "It's calling you. Young lady Leng, let's enter the clan quickly. I'm sure the acting clan head and the elders are all waiting anxiously." Bing Yun ignored Leng Ruoxue's warning and changed the topic. "Then go in." She gave Feng Yi a look that said you're on your own before following Bing Yun's footsteps. She led Uncle Long, Master Ning and the 5 little beasts and swaggered into the Qilin clan. When they arrived at the Qilin clan, Leng Ruoxue, the 3 humans, and the 5 beasts were first arranged to sit in the living room. After that, Bing Yun came to tell them with an apologetic face that the elders were in a meeting and were afraid that they could not see them now. Following that, he enthusiastically arranged accommodation for Leng Ruoxue and the other 2. Leng Ruoxue and the other 2 naturally had no doubts about Bing Yun's arrangement. The next morning, Leng Ruoxue had just left the room when she realized that Feng Yi was blocking her door with a sorrowful expression. He was looking at her with hidden bitterness. Leng Ruoxue shuddered and smiled. "What's wrong? Did you come down from the tree?" I'll be too late by the time you come to save me." As for Leng Ruoxue's actions of rubbing salt into his wound, Feng Yi looked down on her. "Is this my fault?" Leng Ruoxue felt that she was innocent. It was obviously Bing Yun who didn't want to save her. Why was this guy blaming her now? Who else could it be if not you? If you didn't kick me off the cliff, would I have hung on the tree? You're still not saving me." Feng Yi said bitterly. "Hanging on a tree only shows that you're too stupid, and your balance isn't good. You've really wronged me." Leng Ruoxue said with a helpless expression. "Wrongly accused you?" Feng Yi didn't expect Lung Ruoxue to be so shameless. How could she not admit to such an obvious thing? The one who didn't save her was clearly your little companion Bingyun and not me. Lung Ruoxue said, throwing away all responsibility. He didn't save her, but you couldn't have saved her? Feng Yi was speechless. How could this detestable woman be like this? Shameless, he was too shameless. I wanted to save you, but you were in your original form at that time. Look at my small arms and legs. Can I save you? Lung Ruoxue gestured with her little arms and legs and answered honestly. Feng Yi was so choked that he didn't know what to say. He didn't ask her to carry him down. It was just a matter of lifting a finger to help him. Why did it sound like it was such a difficult thing for her? Seeing that Feng Yi had stopped talking, Lung Ruoxue continued. See, you also think what I said makes sense. AI. It's not that I didn't want to help, but my ability is limited. I'm too lazy to talk to you about this. Feng Yi was filled with grief and anger. Then he said hatefully, you should prepare for that. The acting clan head and the elders will see you in 1 hour. Chapter 2745. The Qilin Clan 3. He had actually come to pass on the news and to complain at the same time. Who knew that not only did he not gain any advantage, he was also angered to death. I'll come and pick you up in an hour. Feng Yi added, then turned and left. Seeing that Feng Yi had left, Lung Ruoxue turned around and went to look for Uncle Long and Godfather. After telling them the news, the two of them were a little excited. Uncle Long, Godfather. Lung Ruoxue was puzzled and asked curiously, it's only the acting clan leader and elders of the Qilin clan who want to see us. Why are you so agitated? Calm down. Don't let people think that we've never seen the world. Stinky girl, what nonsense are you talking about? How can we not have seen the world? Hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, Master Ning was enraged. But soon after, he said with a slight worry, although we've seen a lot of things, the seniors of the Qilin clan are still worthy of our respect. Godfather, are you sure that the Qilin clan's acting clan leader and elders are all your seniors? Lung Ruoxue felt that there was something wrong with her godfather's way of thinking, so she could not help but ask. Godfather and Uncle Long had lived for a long time. Those who could become their seniors must be old acquaintances, and those old acquaintances would not easily meet people. Thus, Lung Ruoxue truly felt that it would not be easy to meet the old Qilin who was of the same generation as Shui Mo. Hearing this, Master Ning and Uncle Long's faces turned red. They truly felt that they were a little too uncollected. In reality, the current acting patriarch and most of the elders of the Qilin clan should be of similar seniority to them. The so-called senior that they spoke of had probably already stopped caring about other people's business, so how could he possibly meet them? With this thought in mind, the two immediately calmed down. An hour later, Feng Yi came as promised. There was a handsome young man beside him. With a dark expression, Feng Yi pointed at the man beside him and introduced him. Feng Qiong, you claim to be the most handsome man in the Qilin race, but in reality, you're just an embroidered pillow with gold and jade on the outside but rotten on the inside. You can just casually say hello, don't take it too seriously. Hearing Feng Yi's reluctant introduction, Lung Ruoxue's face was filled with black lines. Is this how you introduce others? These two people didn't get along at all. However, the young man named Feng Qiong did not mind what Feng Yi said about him. He smiled politely and said, I've heard of Miss Lung's name for a long time. However, I need to explain that I'm not claiming to be the most handsome man in the Qilin clan. It's all recognized by the clan. In addition, my strength is not low, and I'm definitely not an embroidered pillow. Lung Ruoxue agreed with Feng Qiong's explanation. This man's strength was indeed not low, and he was actually a reverent god. After some thought, Lung Ruoxue smiled and said, It's a pleasure to meet you, Your Excellency Wind Dome. If I may ask, you and Feng Yi both have the surname Feng. Are you brothers? Lung Ruoxue was curious about this. Furthermore, she was surprised to find out that there were many surnames in the Qilin clan. The ones that she knew were water, wind, and ice. She wondered if there were any others. We are definitely not brothers. After hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, Feng Yi and Feng Qiong said in unison. Feng Yi's voice was louder, while Feng Qiong's was gentler. Following that, Feng Qiong smiled and explained to Leng Ruoxue, "We have the same surname Feng because we're both wind attribute Qilins. Our attributes are also our surnames. The Qilin of our Qilin clan is mainly of the 5 attributes, with a small number of mutated Qilin. The 5 main attributes are mainly wind, fire, water, metal, and wood. The lightning and ice attributes are the variant Qilin, and they are very rare." After listening to Feng Qiong's explanation, Leng Ruoxue finally understood the origin of their surnames. However, seeing that Leng Ruoxue didn't quite understand these things, Feng Qiong was still a little surprised. "Why, didn't Feng Yi tell you this?" "No, he's been disgusted with me since the first time we met," Leng Ruoxue complained. He has always been like this, you don't have to mind really." Hearing this, Feng Qiong kindly comforted him. The two of them echoed each other, and this made Feng Yi completely angry. "Leng Ruoxue, don't wrong me. When have I ever despised you?" Feng Yi roared. Towards Leng Ruoxue's false accusations, Feng Yi felt extremely aggrieved. However, Leng Ruoxue had clearly pointed out the truth, and even used the scene when they first met to remind him. Instantly, Feng Yi wilted. Sob. A single misstep could turn into a moment of eternal hatred. Feng Yi finally remembered. It was also from then on that he lost his freedom, and became a cat servant. Seeing that Feng Yi was being honest, Leng Ruoxue did not make things difficult for him. She smiled and said, "Didn't your acting chief and elders want to see us? Let's go quickly. Don't let them wait too long." "Thanks, all right," he said. Feng Qiong nodded, then glanced at Feng Yi sympathetically, thinking, this guy has provoked a little devil. He had to remember not to provoke Leng Ruoxue. With this thought in mind, Feng Qiong's smile became even gentler when he faced Leng Ruoxue. After Feng Qiong and the depressed Feng Yi brought Leng Ruoxue, the 3 humans, and the 5 beasts to the living room, the 2 of them immediately turned and left. Leng Ruoxue, on the other hand, walked into the living room calmly. This time, the large living room was not as empty as last time. It was already filled with people and Qilin. When she saw the people and the Qilin's expressions, Leng Ruoxue was slightly stunned at first, but she quickly regained her composure. It seemed that the beasts of the Qilin race were quite carefree. Looking at the ones in front of him, they had transformed into human forms and maintained their beast forms. It was truly an eye-opener. Leng Ruoxue nodded slightly at the giant fiery red Qilin, sitting at the head of the table as a greeting. The fiery red Qilin was obviously giving Leng Ruoxue a face. It chuckled and said, "Miss Leng, Your Excellency Dragon Whale, Master Ning, and of course these 5 cute little beasts. Please feel free to sit." Hearing this, the 3 of them found empty chairs and sat down. The 5 little beasts lay in Leng Ruoxue's arms as if there was no one else around. Then, before anyone could speak, everyone stared at each other. This result was largely due to the fact that both sides were very interested in each other, so they didn't bother to talk first. Instead, they both began to observe each other. After a long while, the huge fire Qilin was a little embarrassed and said apologetically, "I'm sorry, Miss Leng. We're too curious about you, so we're a little rude. Let me introduce myself first. I'm the acting clan leader of the Qilin clan, Huiyu. I'm very happy to have the opportunity to meet you all. We are also very curious about the Qilin race." Hearing Huiyu's words, Leng Ruoxue went along with it. Hehe. "As such, isn't our meeting just what we've been hoping for?" Huiyu laughed. "Who said it wasn't he?" Leng Ruoxue laughed. Then she took out a storage ring and said, "I've prepared some gifts for the Qilin of the Qilin clan. I hope you'll like them." As the saying went, one should not blame others for giving too many gifts. Fire Yu had already heard about this from Bing Yun, and knew what Leng Ruoxue had prepared. Naturally, he accepted it gladly, but he still said politely, "I'm sorry to let Miss Leng spend so much money. You're too kind, Fire Yu. I actually refined all the pills myself. It didn't take much effort. As long as you're satisfied, it's fine." Leng Ruoxue replied with a smile. The man and the Qilin were polite for a long time, which made Uncle Long and Master Ning feel helpless. The 2 half-grown old men couldn't help but think, "Isn't this a little too weak? Do you have to do this?" However, this was something that could not be helped. At this moment, Both Lung Ruoxue and Fire Yu were in a state of testing each other. Especially Fire Yu, who had been very polite to Lung Ruoxue. This almost drove Lung Ruoxue mad. The key point was that she could not grasp the main point, and could not confirm the other party's true intention in inviting her here. After an unknown period of time, Lung Ruoxue was finally not willing to be polite anymore. She went straight to the point and asked, "Your Excellency Fire Yu, may I know why the Qilin clan has invited me here?" Upon hearing this, Hui Yu and the elders were all stunned. They did not expect Lung Ruoxue to be so impatient. They had planned to get closer to Lung Ruoxue first, and build up their relationship. After all, their main purpose of inviting Lung Ruoxue over as a guest was to invite Elder Shui Emo back as well. Now that Elder Shui Emo was back, how could they tell Lung Ruoxue that they were only looking for her to borrow her hand? To attract Ancestor Shui Emo back? If they really said that, not only would Lung Ruoxue be angry, even old Ancestor Shui Emo would be furious. After thinking for a while, Fire Yu said in an emergency, "Young Miss Lung, we invited you here because we hope that you can help us refine some medicinal pills." Hearing this, Lung Ruoxue raised her brows slightly and asked calmly, "Does Your Excellency Fire Yu know that the price of my alchemy is very expensive?" "I've heard of it. Miss Lung, you don't have to worry about the price." Hui Yu laughed lightly. He was trying to tell Lung Ruoxue not to worry as they could afford any amount of money. Since Hui Yu had said so, Lung Ruoxue didn't say anything else. She adopted a serious and strict attitude, and asked in detail what kind of medicinal pills the Qilin clan wanted to refine, so that she could get them to prepare enough medicinal herbs. However, Hui Yu was obviously making last-minute preparations, so he didn't expect Lung Ruoxue to ask in such detail. He could only force himself to answer. "It's mainly some healing pills. Healing elixirs require more medicinal herbs. I wonder how many you want to make, Your Excellency Fire Yu?" Lung Ruoxue asked again. "Of course I'll make as many as I can. I can't say for sure the exact amount, everything will depend on Miss Lung's refining technique." Fire Yu said shamelessly, "If that's the case, I'll have to trouble Your Excellency Fire Yu to send the medicinal herbs I need to my current residence. When I'm done refining the pill, I'll give it to you." Lung Ruoxue promised with a smile. After she finished speaking, Lung Ruoxue stood up and bade Hui Yu and the others farewell. She then brought Uncle Long, Godfather, and the 5 little beasts back to their residence. Chapter 2746. First time hearing about the reincarnation pill 1. When they returned to their residence, Master Ning was still feeling indignant. He said to Lung Ruoxue angrily, "Swear, what pill refining? They were simply making things up. I think they must have some ulterior motives for inviting you here." At this time, the master of the Ning family didn't respect the Qilin clan as much as before, especially when he thought of the dumbfounded faces of Hui Yu and the others. He felt that they had been played for fools. Facing her godfather's anger, Lung Ruoxue felt helpless. In reality, she and Uncle Long both knew that the Qilin clan had an ulterior motive for inviting her here. However, they did not tell Godfather and the others about this. Now that Godfather realized that things were not as he had thought, he was a little angry. "Godfather, I know that the Qilin clan invited me here for another purpose. Uncle Long, and I guess that they wanted to use me as an excuse to trick Shui Mo to go back. However, I tested it out and Fire Yu was very cunning. He didn't give himself away. So I can't say anything." Lung Ruoxue explained. Unexpectedly, when the master of the Ning family heard that Lung Ruoxue and Uncle Long knew that the Qilin clan did not sincerely invite them, he was even more furious. How detestable! How detestable! How could he do this? How could she just hide it from him? Master Ning was angry, and the consequences were serious. As a result of his anger, he put on a cold face to Lung Ruoxue and Uncle Long. Of course, before he got angry, he didn't forget to yell at Lung Ruoxue and Uncle Long. "You guys are too much. How could you hide such a thing from me?" Ugh. Looking at her godfather, Lung Ruoxue helplessly realized that her godfather was being at Sundra. Uncle Long had a headache too. The Ning family's old man was already so old. How could he still be so immature? It wasn't a big deal. And the Qilin race didn't have any bad intentions. Was there a need to tell him? In reality, neither Leng Ruoxue nor Uncle Long had intentionally hidden it from Master Ning. It was just that the two of them didn't think that this matter was that serious, so they didn't say anything. Who would have thought that Master Ning would be so arrogant over such a small matter? Godfather, Uncle Long and I didn't want to hide it from you. We just felt that since we've decided to come to the Qilin clan, it doesn't matter what purpose they have in inviting us. This is also the key to whether we can reach a consensus with the Qilin clan. Therefore, no matter what their purpose is, we have to come here. Leng Ruoxue continued to explain. However, the master of the Ning family clearly felt that his precious daughter no longer valued him, so he continued to turn his head and ignore Leng Ruoxue. Seeing this, Baby jumped into Master Ning's arms with a bitter face and said pitifully, "Cute master didn't mention this to us either." Sob. Master doesn't love us either. As he spoke, Baby even started to choke up. When the master of the Ning family saw this, he stroked his baby's soft fur with a little sympathy and said empathetically, "Ai, who said it wasn't he? Shui the bad girl, doesn't love us anymore. Let's cry together." All right. Baby nodded. It had no objections. Then, when Master Ning was not paying attention, it winked at Leng Ruoxue and let Master Ning carry it. The man and beast found a place to cry. Leng Ruoxue was helpless. Although she knew that her baby was trying to help her coax her godfather, she felt that it wouldn't be that easy to coax him this time. Sure enough, Master Ning and the baby didn't show up for 2 days. According to the information that Feng Yi had provided to Leng Ruoxue, the man and beast had toured the entire Qilin territory in the past 2 days. Of course, they could not go to some of the restricted areas, but they could go to most of the places. It could be said that the man and beast had a very happy time these 2 days. Thanks hearing this news, Leng Ruoxue was relieved. At the same time, the Qilin clan had also sent over the medicinal herbs needed to refine the healing elixir. Now that Leng Ruoxue had proper business to attend to, she had less attention on her godfather and the treasure. However, when she saw the mountain-like pile of various medicinal herbs in the storage ring, she could not help but feel speechless. The Qilin race was indeed worthy of being one of the 4 great king divine beasts of the divine realm. The foundation was rich. Look at how many herbs there are, it's scary. More importantly, with so many herbs, it was enough to refine tens of thousands of healing pills. Could the Qilin race use all of them? Leng Ruoxue knew that the Qilin clan had been keeping a low profile for the past tens of thousands of years. They had rarely participated in any major or minor matters in the god world. As such, they probably did not get injured much. Naturally, they would not need so many healing pills. But now what was the Qilin clan trying to do? One had to know that showing off one's wealth was a shameful act. After checking the herbs, Leng Ruoxue let out a soft sigh. Before she could say anything, the Qilin that was in charge of delivering the herbs consoled her in an understanding manner. "Miss Leng, the acting clan head said that you can refine these herbs as you wish and produce as many medicinal pills as you can. There's no need to feel any pressure. If it's not enough, we will send more over." Did she show that she wasn't satisfied? Kiss. Leng Ruoxue was speechless. This was a nouveau riche. He was definitely a rich man. Leng Ruoxue truly felt that she was a loser when compared to the Qilin clan. At least she wouldn't take out so many herbs at once and tell the person in charge of the pill refining that if it wasn't enough, she would send more over. She thought that the Qilin clan's words implied that they supported her misappropriating the medicinal herbs. Otherwise, why would he be so generous? Ugh. Since the Qilin clan had this intention, Leng Ruoxue felt that if she didn't do as she was told, she would be letting down the good intentions of the Qilin clan. With that thought in mind, Leng Ruoxue started to have ideas about the medicinal herbs. In any case, she was rather confident in her own alchemy skills. Even if she deducted half of the herbs, it would be a huge profit for the Qilin race. Just like that, Leng Ruoxue found a room and made it her own pill refinement room. She focused on refining pills. Even though Leng Ruoxue had only used half of the mountain of herbs, it still took her a few days to refine them. Just as Leng Ruoxue was about to finish her work, Master Ning finally showed up again with the treasure. After Uncle Long saw him and greeted him, he couldn't help but tease. What's wrong? Have you had enough of being Sundara? I'm not Sundara. I'm angry, okay? The master of the Ning family immediately refuted. All right. You're angry, okay? Master Ning, are you willing to show your face because you're angry enough? Uncle Long continued to tease him. Humph. I can't be bothered to be angry for too long. Wouldn't that be what you want? The master of the Ning family roared. How can it be as we wish? We don't want you to be angry. Uncle Long was speechless. Was this old man blaming him and Schwer for not coaxing him? But could they be blamed for this? This old man had been missing for a long time, so they couldn't possibly look for him all over the world, right? With that, the Sundara Master Ning would become famous in the Qilin clan. Humph. Where's Schwer, that stinky girl? Master Ning did not continue arguing with Uncle Long, and turned to ask Lung Ruoxue. Chapter 2747. First time hearing about the reincarnation pill, 2. She's refining pills for the Qilin clan. Uncle Long said honestly, You're not done? The master of the Ning family asked. No, the amount of herbs that the Qilin clan brought over is simply too much. It should be enough for little Schwer to refine for a while. Uncle Long said sympathetically. That's right, you've been wandering around the Qilin clan for the past few days. Did you find anything good? Uncle Long asked. What can I find? There are people of the Qilin clan following us everywhere as guides, so it's impossible for us to act on our own. However, the scenery at the bottom of this cliff is really good. Compared to the cliff, it's like heaven and earth. The master of the Ning family praised. I don't need you to tell me that. Uncle Long couldn't help but feel disappointed when he saw that Master Ning hadn't gained anything these days. Hee. Hearing this, the master of the Ning family smiled wretchedly, and then whispered. You know what? I noticed that Feng Yi was pursuing a female Qilin, but the female Qilin didn't really care about him. Hearing this, Uncle Long stared at Master Ning for a long time, then sighed. Don't tell me that you've only been away for a few days and discovered this gossip. Yep. I even gave Feng Yi some pointers. I just don't know if the female Qilin will fall for it. Master Ning said with a smile and a hint of pride. Master Ning, you have to help me. Speak of the devil is here. As soon as Master Ning finished speaking, Feng Yi's resentful voice drifted in. Then Uncle Long and Master Ning saw a dispirited Feng Yi walk in from outside. When he saw Feng Yi, Uncle Long sighed and then turned to leave. Master Ning was very excited and asked Feng Yi all sorts of questions. Finally, he left with Feng Yi. When Lung Ruoxue was done refining the pill, she walked out of her room and headed to the living room. She happened to see Uncle Long sitting on a chair with a worried look on his face. He was looking up at the sky at a 45-degree angle. Lung Ruoxue shuddered and walked over. She asked with concern, Uncle Long, what's wrong? Is there something that I don't know about? Little girl, you finished refining the pills? Upon seeing Lung Ruoxue, Uncle Long asked excitedly. Yup. Uncle Long, what's wrong? Seeing that Uncle Long wasn't going to answer her directly, Lung Ruoxue could only ask again. It's hard to explain in a few words. Uncle Long sighed heavily. Lung Ruoxue's face was filled with question marks. Your godfather was so bored that he became Feng Yi's love advisor, and made a mess of the Qilin clan. Just now, the acting clan leader of Hua Yu came to me, and asked me to restrain Master Ning. I was just wondering how to talk to him. After sighing, Uncle Long finally explained the reason. However, Lung Ruoxue was even more confused. Seeing that Lung Ruoxue didn't understand, Uncle Long could only explain more clearly. The cause of this incident was naturally Feng Yi falling in love with a female Qilin, but that female Qilin fell in love with another female Qilin. And the other female Qilin fell in love with another person. Such a complicated relationship became even more complicated with the participation of Master Ning. Because Master Ning not only gave Feng Yi an idea, but also taught the female Qilin a few moves. This way, things were getting out of hand. Thanks the parties involved, which were several Qilins with complicated relationships, had a big fight and shocked the entire Qilin clan. Those troublemakers were all locked up by Fire Yu's order. Of course, Master Ning could not be locked up, so Fire Yu came to him in person. One must know that the Qilin clan had always been free to love. They did not understand the struggles of humans, snatch and whatnot. But now the naive Qilins were obviously influenced by the naive master of the Ning family, and they knew what jealousy was. AI. Poor Qilin clan's pure culture. It was said that the Fire Yu was very angry because of this matter. Its originally fiery red fur had become much whiter. The Fire Yu that Uncle Long had seen earlier was also obviously a little dispirited. He even felt a little sympathy for Horyu. Lung Ruoxue calmly listened to Uncle Long's words. She was speechless and didn't know what to say. However, she would never be like Uncle Long, who thought that it was because her godfather was bored. She truly felt that godfather was angry that the Qilin clan was not sincere enough when they invited them over. So he wanted to cause some trouble for the Qilin clan. One had to know that godfather was very protective of his own people. He felt that the Qilin race didn't value him enough, so how could he swallow this? It was precisely because of this that the Qilin race was in a tragedy. But thinking about it, this should not be a big deal. Lung Ruoxue was very open-minded. After consoling Uncle Long for a while, she went to look for the Fire Yu with him. After seeing the Fire Yu, Lung Ruoxue did not take the initiative to mention the matter of her godfather. Instead, she directly handed over the elixir that she had refined to the Fire Yu. After Horyu took it and examined it, he opened his mouth and looked at Lung Ruoxue in shock and disbelief. Of course, Lung Ruoxue didn't think that Horyu was not satisfied with the number of pills. Hence, she calmly drank the tea that Horyu had ordered the servants to serve, but didn't say anything. Finally, Horyu couldn't help but ask, "Miss Lung, these medicinal pills are all from the herbs I sent people to give you?" "Of course, Your Excellency Fire Yu. You don't think that I added my own herbs into it, do you? I'm not that selfless." Lung Ruoxue laughed lightly as she teased. Hee. Miss Lung's alchemy skills have really surprised me. After hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, Huiyu's face revealed a smile. This was probably the best news it had received in a while. "It's good that you're satisfied, Your Excellency Fire Yu." Lung Ruoxue laughed lightly. With that, she stood up and prepared to leave. When Horyu saw that Lung Ruoxue was about to leave, he quickly said, "Miss Lung, about your godfather. What's wrong with my godfather?" Without waiting for Fire Yu to finish speaking, Lung Ruoxue interrupted him, and played dumb with a puzzled look on her face. Ugh. Horyu thought that Lung Ruoxue still didn't understand, so he turned to look at Uncle Long. Uncle Long was very calm and stared at Horyu, but he did not say anything. Horyu was helpless. Of these two people, one had a blank face and the other was playing dumb. What should it do? AI. Forget it. On the account of Lung Ruoxue's high success rate in producing pills, it would just accept it. Horyu accepted his fate and smiled at Lung Ruoxue. "Nothing. I just didn't expect Master Ning to be such a lively person." Although Huiyu's words were very subtle, Lung Ruoxue understood. Godfather is not lively at all. He had turned the entire Qilin race into a mess. However, since Horyu had obviously let it go, Lung Ruoxue naturally would not take the initiative to mention this matter. After returning to the residence, Lung Ruoxue saw her godfather and baby the moment she walked into the living room. They were sitting on the chairs as if they were good brothers. The man and the beast were even muttering to each other. She had no idea what they were talking about. Chapter 2748. First time hearing about the reincarnation pill 3. When he saw Lung Ruoxue and Uncle Long walk in, Master Ning only glanced at Lung Ruoxue lightly before turning his head away. Baby pounced towards Lung Ruoxue enthusiastically and jumped into her arms. Lung Ruoxue felt helpless when she saw the two extreme attitudes of her godfather and her baby. She then carried her baby and walked towards her godfather. She then sat down on the empty seat beside her godfather. "Godfather, are you still angry with me?" Lung Ruoxue asked on purpose. "Humph. You're a little heartless." Master Ning snorted coldly and said arrogantly. Seeing this, Uncle Long smiled and tried to smooth things over. "All right, you're not young anymore. So don't act like a child and throw a tantrum. I'm not being difficult. Master Ning refused to admit it. Since Godfather isn't at loggerheads, then Godfather, give Shuer a smile. Lung Ruoxue teased. Do you think I'll laugh just because you want me to? Then I'll lose face. The master of the Ning family roared. AI. Since Godfather doesn't want to smile for Shuer, then how about Shuer smile for Godfather? Lung Ruoxue continued. Hearing this, Master Ning couldn't help but burst into laughter. He scolded jokingly. Stinky girl, who did you learn to be so talkative from? In order to make Godfather smile, it doesn't matter if I'm poor. Lung Ruoxue tried to please him. Bad girl, I'll forgive you this time. Master Ning said helplessly. He could no longer pretend. Seeing that her godfather had finally been coaxed, Lung Ruoxue stopped entertaining the family and casually asked about what had happened these few days. Master Ning naturally knew what Shuer wanted to ask, so he described the matter vividly. As the person involved, he naturally explained it more clearly than Uncle Long. After hearing the live version of the story, Uncle Long and Lung Ruoxue were speechless and didn't know what to say. The matter that Godfather had caused this time seemed to be a little bigger. According to his godfather, after his instigation, at least half of the Qilin race had confessed to their crush. It wasn't like what Uncle Long said, where there were only Feng Yi and a few other Qilin. At this moment, the two of them finally knew why Huoyu had a constipated expression. After a long time, after clearing his throat, Uncle Long gave Master Ning a thumbs up. Ning family's old boy, you're amazing. I'm convinced. This is just how far. If it wasn't for the fact that many Qilin were locked up and forced to wake up, I'm afraid the Qilin clan would be even more lively now. Master Ning said disapprovingly. Since he dared to make use of his daughter, he had to be aware that he was causing trouble. Lung Ruoxue and Uncle Long looked at the Ning family's master, who looked like he wanted more. The two of them looked at each other in silence, and neither of them said anything. They really didn't know what to say. By the way, that old rascal Huoyu didn't say anything bad about me, right? Master Ning asked again when he saw the two of them remain silent. No, but it came to me and asked me to restrain you. Just now, when I accompanied Shuer to deliver the pills to it, it seemed to be complaining to Shuer, but in the end, it didn't say anything. Uncle Long said honestly. That's good. Master Ning was relieved, but then he frowned and said, Hi. Feng Yi has also been locked up. Now no one will listen to my command. The two of them remained silent. Shuer, do you think we should think of a way to get Feng Yi out? After all, he's your man now. The master of the Ning family continued to speak to himself. Godfather, we're in the middle of a storm right now. It's best if we don't act rashly. Otherwise, if we make the Qilin clan unhappy, it might ruin our business. Lung Ruoxue thought for a moment before reminding him. I see. Then I'll just endure it. I really like that little guy, he's so obedient. The master of the Ning family said with a face full of reluctance. Lung Ruoxue was speechless. She thought to herself. When did you treat Feng Yi as a toy? However, Lung Ruoxue couldn't bear to disappoint her godfather, so she said, when the Fire Yu isn't so angry in a few days, I'll go and plead with it. Hearing Lung Ruoxue's words, Master Ning was satisfied. The next day, Lung Ruoxue and the rest had just finished their breakfast when Bing Yun came to their door. Thanks looking at Bing Yun, who had not appeared in front of them for a long time ever since she returned to the Qilin clan. Lung Ruoxue was a little surprised and couldn't help but let her thoughts run wild. Could Bing Yun be here to send off her guest? After all, the pill that the Qilin clan requested had already been refined. And when the Ning family head saw Bing Yun, he simply widened his eyes and said with an incredulous look, Isn't Ice Cloud His Excellency locked up? Bing Yun had never been asked so directly by anyone before. She immediately broke out in a waterfall of sweat. After a long time, Bing Yun finally came back to his senses and said with a serious face, Master Ning, I'm not locked up. How did this happen? Did you bribe His Excellency Fire Guangdong? Master Ning muttered to himself, his face still full of disappointment. When Bing Yun heard this, he was extremely depressed. However, on account of Lung Ruoxue's face, he could not say anything and could only remain silent. Lung Ruoxue saw that Bing Yin was forced into silence by her godfather, and laughed evilly in her heart. She still kindly changed the topic and said, "Is there something you need from me, Your Excellency Hail Cloud? Young Lady Lung, the clan leader has invited you in." Bing Yin looked at Lung Ruoxue gratefully and quickly said, "Lung Ruoxue didn't expect it to be Fire you looking for her." She nodded and followed Bing Yin to see Fire Yu. Along with her were Uncle Long, Master Ning, and the 5 little beasts. This time, Hui Yu received Lung Ruoxue and the others in the Qilin clan's meeting hall instead of the living room. Lung Ruoxue saw that the other party was so formal, and knew that what Hui Yu wanted to say was probably very important. Hui Yu brought his godfather and the others into the meeting hall. He was still smiling when he saw Lung Ruoxue, but his face immediately darkened when he saw Master Ning. Master Ning also clearly felt that the atmosphere in the meeting hall had suddenly changed. However, Master Ning, who had always been used to big scenes, naturally did not care about the other party's reaction. After nodding and greeting each other, Lung Ruoxue and the other 2 found empty seats and sat down. The 5 little beasts, as usual, lay in their master's arms. Hui Yu's mouth twitched involuntarily when he saw the furry little beastie lying in Lung Ruoxue's arms. It could be seen that these 5 little beasts had a rather good relationship with Lung Ruoxue. However, the Qilin clan rarely recognized humans as their masters, so it could not understand why these little beasts treated it like a pet. At least it admitted that it could not do that. However, every beast had their own ambitions, and it could not comment on the other party's actions. After being slightly surprised, Hui Yu went straight to the point. "Miss Lung, I have something very important to ask you today," Hui Yu said in a slightly anxious tone. "I wonder what it is?" Lung Ruoxue asked with a puzzled expression. "I would like to ask if young Lady Lung is able to refine the reincarnation pill?" Hui Yu asked expectantly. Reincarnation pill? When Lung Ruoxue heard this name, she had a feeling that this pill was not simple. However, she had never heard of the reincarnation pill before. "Can I?" Hui Yu asked again. This time, not only was it filled with anticipation, but all the elders present also looked at Lung Ruoxue in unison. Their eyes were filled with desire. "I'm sorry, Your Excellency Fire Yu. I've never heard of the reincarnation pill, so how would I know how to refine it?" Lung Ruoxue said honestly. "That's impossible." Hui Yu was in disbelief. "I really haven't heard of it." Lung Ruoxue was helpless. What was impossible? Could she be lying? Even though in the entire divine realm, no one can concoct the reincarnation pill except for Master Yu. But Master Yu is your master, so you should have heard of him before. Hui Yu's expression was still in disbelief. In reality, if Lung Ruoxue had said that she couldn't refine the reincarnation pill, it wouldn't have been too surprised. After all, Lung Ruoxue was still too young. However, it had never even heard of her before. This made it wonder if Lung Ruoxue was just trying to avoid the question. "Your Excellency Fire Yu, I'm very sure that the reincarnation pill wasn't in the pill recipe that Master left me. So I really don't know what reincarnation pill is. Of course, if you don't believe me, I can't do anything about it." Lung Ruoxue said calmly, even though she could tell what Hui Yu was thinking. When the Fire Yu heard this, it stared at Lung Ruoxue seriously for a long time. Seeing that there was no trace of guilt on her face, it had no choice but to believe her words. After sighing, Hui Yu said apologetically, "I'm sorry, Miss Lung. I don't mean to doubt you. It's just that the reincarnation pill is too important to our Qilin clan. I can understand, but I don't know if it's convenient for you to tell me what the reincarnation pill is used for." Lung Ruoxue asked after expressing her understanding. The reincarnation pill is a top-grade healing pill. It requires a wide variety of herbs, many of which are priceless. Our Qilin clan has been collecting them for tens of thousands of years, but we are still short of 2 kinds. I thought that Miss Lung's alchemy skills were all passed down by Master Yu, but I didn't expect that Miss Lung had never heard of the reincarnation pill. Hui Yu said disappointedly. As the saying goes, the greater the expectation, the greater the disappointment. Ever since they had witnessed the quality of the healing pills that Lung Ruoxue concocted, they had high hopes for her. Otherwise, they wouldn't have excitedly sent someone to invite Lung Ruoxue over for questioning, before they had even prepared the herbs needed for the reincarnation pill. However, the final result had clearly dealt them a heavy blow. Lung Ruoxue had never heard of the reincarnation pill, so she naturally had no way of refining it. How could they accept this? The Qilins that were originally excited were now like frosted eggplants, listless and dejected. Some of the elders who were too weak immediately wailed and bawled after hearing that Lung Ruoxue really didn't know about the reincarnation pill. Lung Ruoxue's forehead was filled with black lines. Even if the reincarnation pill was very important to them, there was no need for these Qilins to immediately show a pained expression as if their family member had died after knowing that she had never heard of it, right? What the hell is this? Chapter 2749. The Shrewd Buddha's Hand Flower. 1. Lung Ruoxue couldn't understand how fragile these Qilin were. Wasn't this a huge contrast to their gigantic bodies? Could it be that the bigger a beastie was, the more fragile its heart was? And now, the glass-hearted Qilin beasts were giving Lung Ruoxue a huge headache. Sighing lightly, Lung Ruoxue helplessly said, "I wonder if the Qilin race has the formula for the reincarnation pill? If you do, can you let me take a look?" Actually, when she heard Huayu say that he had collected the medicinal herbs used to refine the reincarnation pill for tens of thousands of years, Lung Ruoxue knew that he definitely had the pill formula. It was just that the reincarnation pill was so important to him that she was embarrassed to ask him to lend it to her. She could only express her gratitude in a reserved manner. Unexpectedly, after Huayu heard Lung Ruoxue's words, he immediately reacted and stared at her with bright eyes. That's right. Why didn't it think of that? Huayu was very annoyed. Lung Ruoxue said that the reincarnation pill wasn't in the pill formula that Master Yu had left for her, but that didn't mean that she couldn't refine it? And didn't they have the reincarnation pill's pill formula? It would be best if Lung Ruoxue could refine it, but if she couldn't, they could just give up completely. With that thought in mind, Huayu immediately nodded and ordered someone to bring the reincarnation pill's recipe over. He then carefully handed it over to Lung Ruoxue. After that, the entire room of Qilins, including the few elders who had been crying miserably earlier, all stared at Lung Ruoxue with anticipation. Their actions instantly gave Lung Ruoxue a huge amount of pressure. After calming herself down, Lung Ruoxue began to examine the pill formula carefully. As Huayu had said, the reincarnation pill required a lot of herbs. Lung Ruoxue took a quick glance and realized that it required at least 10,000 types of herbs, and these were just supplementary ingredients. The reincarnation pill required thousands of main ingredients and herbs. Looking at the densely packed medicinal herb names and annotations on the pill formula, Lung Ruoxue could not help but admire the perseverance of the Qilin race. Such a wide variety of medicinal pills with extremely high requirements for the age of the medicinal herbs, it would indeed take tens of thousands of years to prepare. More importantly, it could not be collected just with time. Sometimes it could easily cause people to lose their willpower. However, this also showed the importance of the reincarnation pill to the Qilin race. After she finished reading the pill formula, Lung Ruoxue felt immense pressure as she faced the countless pairs of expectant eyes. "Miss Lung, how is it? Can you make it?" Seeing that Lung Ruoxue didn't say anything, Huayu, who couldn't wait any longer, took the initiative to ask. "Your Excellency, fire you. To be honest, after I read the recipe of the reincarnation pill, I realized that the reincarnation pill not only has high requirements for the herbs it needs, but also for the alchemist who makes it." Lung Ruoxue said honestly. After a pause, she continued, "There are so many herbs with different melting points. If you're not careful, you may cause one of the herbs to lose its best efficacy. At the same time, it will affect the success of the pill and the use of the reincarnation pill. Therefore, this pill is a test of the alchemist's control of the fire. Currently, I don't have the confidence to succeed in one try. Then how many times can you succeed?" Upon hearing this, Huayu quickly asked, unable to hide the excitement and joy in his heart. Thanks, it could be said that Lung Ruoxue's answer was beyond its expectations. This was a huge surprise for the Qilin clan. As expected of Master Yes disciple, Initially, Wuxia, who was trying to make a Hail Mary effort, didn't dare to have too much hope. However, Lung Ruoxia's words allowed it to see a glimmer of hope. It was really too excited. I don't know. Lung Ruoxia could only tell the truth as she looked at the Fire Yu, who was obviously overexcited. The Fire Yu became dejected after hearing this, but it quickly pulled itself together and said to Lung Ruoxia, I believe that with Miss Lung's alchemy skills, she will be able to refine the reincarnation pill one day. We are willing to wait. We only hope that when Miss Lung is able to refine the reincarnation pill, you can help us to refine the pill. At that time, our Qilin clan will definitely treat Miss Lung as a distinguished guest. As long as I can make it, I won't let you down. But the reincarnation pill requires too many herbs. I'm afraid I can't do anything. Lung Ruoxia said helplessly. In other words, she didn't have any herbs to practice on. If she waited until she collected enough herbs, tens of thousands of years would have passed. She didn't know if the Qilin clan could afford to wait. The Fire Yu was a smart person. It knew that an alchemist would need a large number of herbs during the trial. Hence, after Lung Ruoxia said this, it immediately expressed that it was willing to provide Lung Ruoxia with the herbs she needed to refine the reincarnation pill. When Lung Ruoxia heard this, she was naturally overjoyed. One must know that the reincarnation pill could also be considered a challenge for her. After all, she had never used so many herbs at once just to refine one kind of medicinal pill. The medicinal herbs required for the reincarnation pill were indeed a headache for her. There were so many medicinal herbs that could not be collected with money. One also needed enough time and patience, and these were all extremely challenging. Now that the Qilin clan was willing to provide her with medicinal herbs to practice her skills, Lung Ruoxia was more than happy to do so. But at the same time, she was also a little depressed because the facts in front of her once again proved that in comparison, the Qilin race was the true nouveau riche. After being depressed for a while, Lung Ruoxia asked impatiently, Your Excellency Fire Yu, when can you give me the herbs needed for the reincarnation pill? I'm afraid we'll have to wait for some time. We've been collecting for tens of thousands of years, but we're still short of 2 herbs. Besides, the most important main herb of the reincarnation pill, the reincarnation grass, still needs 50 years to reach 10,000 years. After hesitating for a while, Wuxia explained with some embarrassment. It truly felt that it had let Lung Ruoxia down. In order to refine the reincarnation pill for them, she had been so enthusiastic about the trial, but they had not even prepared all the medicinal herbs. It had let down Lung Ruoxia's enthusiasm. However, Lung Ruoxia clearly did not realize what it was thinking. This was because she was already dumbfounded when she heard that the reincarnation grass needed another 50 years to reach 10,000 years. Didn't this mean that she would only have the chance to refine the reincarnation pill after 50 years? Such a fact caused Lung Ruoxia to be in a mess. Wait, what did Wuxia mean by caught? Your Excellency Fire Guangdong, can you give me the reincarnation herb? I have a way to turn it into a 10,000-year-old reincarnation grass in a month. Lung Ruoxia said after some thought. In fact, she had said too much. As long as the reincarnation grass was planted in the bracelet and time was accelerated, it would become a 10,000-year-old reincarnation grass in less than 2 days. However, she did not intend to tell them about the space, so she could only say a time that she thought everyone could accept. However, it was clear that the Fire Yu was still greatly shocked when it heard Lung Ruoxia's words. However, it immediately felt relieved. After all, Lung Ruoxia was Master Ye's disciple, so it was normal for her to have some special means. Therefore, without discussing with the elders, Fire Yu immediately nodded and said, Sure. If Miss Lung can really turn the reincarnation herb into a 10,000-year-old reincarnation herb in 1 month, I will also try my best to deliver the 2 medicinal herbs that have not been caught to Miss Lung in 1 month. That you're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.